A Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes. Deebs hanging out with us. Jack Johnson with us as well. Coming up at 11:30, Field Yates from ESPN. We'll talk some NFL football, some Chiefs football with Field Yates. 12:30, Andy Reid. We've got Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Learn Funniest Best before the show is over as well. Tonight, 6 o'clock, Hawk Talk with Bill Self. Big weekend for the teams in Kansas, playing some basketball on the road, both getting big wins. Kansas State bouncing back, looking pretty good, and KU getting another non-conference win, another notch on the belt, a feather in the cap for Bill Self, and yet another game showing why Bill Self has said that Melvin Council Jr. has been their MVP this year. No doubt about that in that one. But Bill Self's Hawk Talk coming up tonight. Dolphins, Steelers, 7:15. Dolphins fans now. Let's go fish. Let's go fish. Let's do it, man. Chiefs players can go fishing now. Since they're heading on to the offseason, they can do it down in Cancun. They can do it wherever they feel like doing it. Chiefs will head to the Titans this weekend. 3.5-point favorites. That's a real shock. A real shock that the Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites. You'd be surprised that they were 3.5-point favorites against the Bills and the Broncos and the Colts and the Cowboys and the Texans. And it opened up at 3.5 against the Chargers and now 3.5 against the Titans. I feel like Vegas is getting real lazy here. Real lazy here with their 3.5-point favorites. I'm just going to throw a dart and say that they're going to be 3. And you know what? Next week, that streak is going to end. Christmas Day, that streak will end. They will not be 3.5-point favorites against the Broncos. I'm going to go out on a limb and say
3.5-point underdogs. They're just going to copy-paste to the other side.
That thing's going to be 6.5. Point dogs with the Broncos, an opportunity to play for the number 1 seed with the Patriots losing yesterday to the Bills, blowing that game. All right, so let's get into it. 913-381-0810. We will open the phone lines if you want to weigh in. 913-381-0810. It's a day after a Chiefs game. It is a rough one. 913-912-4810, the text line to join us to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810, the text line to join us. Jack Johnson is with us, and Jack hosted a show yesterday that was more of a funeral, wouldn't be the right term, but it kind of felt like it was the finish line of what has been a very long race.
A coma.
Not yet. I know that last night you had some funny jokes about comas and everything, of whether you're in a coma or not in a coma. But that's an inside joke that people wouldn't get unless your name is Blair Kirkhoff, Mick Schaefer, or me.
Yeah, but no, I'm just saying this is basically a coma because they're going to come back.
We will see. We will see if that's the hope. That's certainly the hope. And do you come back better than you did before out of a coma? I'm not sure if that is the case or not, but it was yesterday the finish line of what has been an 8-year stretch where they go to 7 AFC championship games. They win 5 AFC championships, 3 Super Bowls along the way. Still the reigning AFC champs, 3 straight Super Bowls, and a season that this game was emblematic of what this season turned out to be. The cherry on the top and the bad part and the nightmare was how the game ended in that final drive, how the season ended ultimately. And there are questions going into 2026 about the roster and what can they do. But the unfortunate part now is that you throw in the question around your franchise, and that is Patrick Mahomes and that left knee and the ACL tear. And hopefully that is all there is just an ACL tear. There's no other tissue or anything in there that is damaged when they go in there and fix it. If it's a straight ACL tear, obviously that's a little bit better as opposed to anything else that may be going on inside the knee. We will obviously be watching and paying attention and talking with people about what the offseason is going to be and what the offseason is going to be for Patrick Mahomes. I feel like the immediate takeaway or the immediate view in the future is not counting on Mahomes the first couple of weeks, and if he plays, great. But I don't want to go in to the offseason banking on week 1 that Patrick Mahomes will be under center for the Kansas City Chiefs and then be disappointed. I don't think the Chiefs should go into this offseason thinking that number 15 will be taking snaps under center in week 1 for the Chiefs. They should go into this offseason thinking we need a better backup. Maybe it's Gardner Minshew, but we need to have a little more focus on who that backup quarterback is going to be, because odds are they're going to be more vital this upcoming season than they have been for the Chiefs in the past. Because you know for a fact, at this point, I shouldn't say you know for a fact, but at this point you should be banking on that person playing. You weren't banking on Chad Henne coming in the postseason and playing. That was awesome. But you're not banking on that. You're not planning that ahead of time. I think you have to plan this ahead of time as to what the season is going to be at the beginning of next year. But there is a lot of road. There's a lot of runway and ground to cover before they get to week 1. Here's a small, very small silver lining. Very small silver lining of this whole thing. With the unknown of Patrick Mahomes' status in week number 1, and when they release the schedule, the unknown of Patrick Mahomes' status in week number 1, I would give it almost a 0% chance they send the Chiefs to Australia to face off against the Rams. And that's something we talked about.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, that's going to be BS, because I think Brazil may have had a start to this season when they're already a tired team, and then they go and do everything down in Brazil, and the 4 hours on the bus there and back, and how far away it was, and then you got to travel 15, 16 hours in a plane. Excuses or not, K-State to Ireland, excuses or not, going to Melbourne seems like a disaster, because you're playing the day after, but whatever the day is there, they're talking about week 1 or week 2, and maybe giving a team a bye week after. Can you imagine a bye week in week 3 if you go to Melbourne and play week 2? Disaster. So small silver lining. They may not have been that team anyway.
Sure.
But if the Chiefs had gone to the playoffs and gone to the Super Bowl again, and lost, because if they won, then they would be playing at home on Thursday night, not there. But they have a date with the Rams on the road. They are one of the teams that would be in contention to go to Sydney or to Melbourne, wherever, Australia. All right? I don't even know which city it's going to be in, but who cares? Small silver lining. Put that aside. Now we can get into a number of things here. Jack, since you're only with us for the first hour and a half, you've had now another day to process it, because honestly, it's probably been the last 6 hours or so. Maybe that it's really since I woke up this morning, so it wasn't 6 hours ago that I woke up. So 4.5 hours ago that it started to hit like, oh wow, he does have a torn ACL. Like this entire offseason is different. Because at first it was like, man, that sucks. It's terrible. Like, it's like, wow, that really just happened. But it's also the season is over, so it doesn't feel as disastrous as it would have a year ago when they were 13-1. And it's like, well, you're barreling towards the number 1 seed. You're trying to win 3 in a row, and this happens. Well, that's the end of that year. This was already an awful year. Odds were that they were going to miss the playoffs anyway, especially the way they were playing against the Chargers. Then you got the Broncos coming in a couple of weeks from now. So it doesn't have the level of impact it would have in the previous 7 years with Mahomes at quarterback. But this morning it sort of sunk in okay, now not only is this year done, we're talking about, do you need a hard reset and maybe even going through 2026 to figure out 2027 and beyond in that next stage of Patrick Mahomes. You've had another day to sort of sleep on it after the immediate reaction and talking about it. How do you feel today with the ending of the season, essentially, because they're not in the playoffs, but also the first major injury we've seen from Patrick Mahomes that's going to take a full offseason to recover from?
Yeah, I mean, really, as you said, the only silver lining you can bring up here is that, well, at least they weren't 13-1, and now you're talking about he was the sole reason that you were 13-1, kind of like last year where the team wasn't as loaded as they usually were. They just were unbeatable in one-score games and were 15-2 and 15-1 before they rested all of their starters. I mean, even if they won yesterday, let's say Gardner Minshew goes down and has a touchdown with 20 or 5 seconds to go.
Or doesn't throw an interception, or kick a field goal and win in overtime.
Win in overtime, yeah. They would have beaten the Titans this coming week. And, yeah, it would have given you some hope going into Christmas night against the Broncos. And even if they did pull off the miracle and win 4 in a row, they're 10-7, get the 7th seed, are they going to win a Super Bowl with Gardner Minshew at quarterback? Not with all the holes they had on the roster.
Maybe. Eagles did with Nick Foles.
Oh, I don't think this team would have, not with that offensive line. I mean,
this team ain't doing it with Gardner Minshew.
The fact they had 2 guys that were on practice squad starting at left tackle and right tackle.
3 guys that were undrafted. Out of your 5.
It, to me, almost the way he got injured, running for his life, looking for somebody downfield, and then having the torn ACL, it's just described the last, and they won a Super Bowl in this stretch, but the last 3 years, we've seen this offense play, right? The year they won the Super Bowl, nobody could catch the damn football, right? It's MVS dropping the ball. It's Kadarius Toney dropping the ball, and, man, he just needs more help. Last year, no running game. They bring on Kareem Hunt off the couch to be their starting running back. They run into issues later on in the year. Receiver room wasn't as great all season long. And then this year, you get the combination of poor offensive line, banged up offensive line, a receiving core that's underachieved. And I just feel that this is maybe not the direct correlation to not helping him these last 3 years. But eventually, this is the risk of when you have a guy who's been running for his life the last 2 years. There has been such below average play from the offensive line. Now, on this play specifically, it's not like somebody got beat immediately and he's, like the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. I didn't see that because you also have to take into account Esapole and Chu Godric. These are guys that are not starting tackles in the NFL. They have done their best considering the circumstances here, and that's why I looked at this offseason. If you don't know that he's going to be your quarterback in week 1, you certainly want a fast and quick recovery. But to me, yes, you got to make sure your backup quarterback is serviceable enough to win you some football games. But how about this be the offseason? You really try to help that offense so that you're not running into this issue every year. Because I feel like the last couple of years, Brett Veach and company have been able to fall back on we're getting to the Super Bowl every single year. We know what we're doing. He is the guy that's the constant. We can change pieces around him. But it felt like the last 2 years in watching this offense, it's been such a grind. It's been ugly to watch that group at times. They don't have great pass protection. The receivers can't get open. It's the play calling. The fact their leading rusher had 11 carries for 21 yards yesterday, we have talked about this since week 1. And nothing happened at the deadline. Not that there were great offers on the table. Maybe it could have been Breece Hall. But
I'm glad they didn't give up that 3rd rounder now for Breece Hall. They may not have been in this position, obviously, all of that stuff. A butterfly effect.
It just, to me, there were so many holes on this team. And that's why yesterday's loss didn't shock me. It just kind of, you can't overcome all of that. You can't overcome subpar performances from guys you were counting on. And you certainly can't overcome 3 undrafted players starting on the offensive line against top 10 defenses. It's going to look like that whether you got playmakers or not. And that's really, in the end, what happened yesterday.
I actually somewhat pushed back on the offensive line just a little bit. I thought they did a fine job overall, all things considered. A lot of those sacks were coverage sacks. How many times did Patrick have, or how many times did he get sacked or get all that pressure when there was like 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds? I mean, a lot. I think one was 12. He had the ball for 12 seconds in his hands, and then he got sacked.
Well, it was 12 seconds. It wasn't 12 seconds where he was sitting in the pocket.
No, I agree. But
12 seconds running around him, and I can run from the 10-yard line and then run all the way back to the goal line, and I can have the ball for a long time before I'm sacked.
The point remains to me, I thought they did an okay job. It was a lack of receivers getting open, which is that the player or is that scheme. And I've said for a long time, this is the same scheme they've ran since 2022. They adjusted when Tyreek Hill got traded. When that trade happened in 2022, this was fresh, this was new, this was cutting edge. This was the new thing in the NFL. And then what happened? Defenses adjusted. But it still worked in 23. They won a Super Bowl, but what did Patrick say? This is no fun. This is not fun. It's not enjoyable. The offense was a grind. Then what happened in 24? Same offense, but they go back to the Super Bowl. So you're sitting here going, well, why would we overhaul everything when we're at least winning a Super Bowl and then getting back to one? This is the same offense from 2022. Defense adjusted. This team has not. And again, with the injury to Patrick specifically, we knew that knee was not great going into the game, correct?
Yeah.
So some question has to be had of how bad was it?
Well, I don't think it was bad enough to where he wasn't going to play. I mean,
Sure.
he could clearly play on it, and you're playing for your playoff lives. So it might have been a little bit worse, and it might have just had less stability that tackle, gave out a little bit more to where if it was fully healthy. But I think that
My point is do
Yeah.
you wear those offensive line braces on your leg? I'm being slightly facetious, but just something because, or at least the game plan be, hey Patrick, whatever happens, don't run, don't run.
Right. That's the thing. I mean, it's like, hey, Steph Curry, don't shoot. I mean, that's just what Patrick Mahomes is going to do. And you can't ask him to not go out there and try to win the game and make the playoffs because that's going to be his mentality. I think the lasting image that I'll have of this season that I think is appropriate for the last 2 years is Mahomes in the tunnel with the towel over his head and being helped, arms over, a member of the training staff on either side of him. I say that it's appropriate, and that's the lasting image because that feels like what Mahomes has been doing for the franchise the last 2 years. It feels like that's the opposite. It's been the franchise limping and Mahomes holding it up, trying to, help it along the way. All right, it's all on my shoulders. You're leaning on me, and you're limping here, and you've got your towel over your head, and I'm holding it up and getting us there and fighting and scrambling and running and doing whatever I can do to get us there until it falls apart in the Super Bowl against a really good team, like a legit, I think, great team. When we look back, I think that's the way we should view that Eagles team, how amazing they were offensively, how great they were defensively. That was a juggernaut type team, and it fell apart there in that game. But then it goes into this season where whether it's playmakers or scheme, whatever it might be, there's no doubt that Mahomes, or lack of a running game in general, there's no doubt that Mahomes was running a lot more this year. We saw it week 1 against the Chargers. I mean, in a way, it's sort of symbolic that the season begins and ends with the Chargers.
Yeah.
And sort of the same thing. The Chargers and that ominous feel about, wow, you can't rush the passer, and the only offense you had was Mahomes scrambling to try to pick up first downs. Like, that was the whole offense and running game was Mahomes. And the numbers back it up. This is a guy that scrambled right around 2.5 times per game in the regular season before this year. That goes up a full scramble per game in the postseason, which adds up. That means in the postseason, he's going and scrambling and doing more because you have to have it. You've got to win. So whatever it takes, I'm going to take more hits. I'm going to get knocked down, but I'm going to pick up the first down. I'm going to lower my shoulder and pick up the first down. This year, he's at 4 scrambles per game. That's more than what he's had in the postseason. When it's I'll do whatever it takes. Patrick Mahomes essentially this year, because of people around him and the running game, has been playing playoff Patrick Mahomes football. It's not sustainable. Like we talk about it from Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or any quarterback that takes hits. And Mahomes certainly does. It's not sustainable to be a guy that is playing with your body on the line the way that he does in the postseason throughout the season, because that's the way you can get to the postseason, because that's the way he's going to play. But it's not the way he has to play. It shouldn't be. It's the way that he's had to play this year. But he has had plenty of years where he has viewed it and said, I don't have to do that until playoff time. Because he has huge scrambles against the Bengals and the Eagles on a bad ankle. Like, those are images that we have in our mind, the run against the 49ers in overtime last year. Like, we have these images in our mind of Patrick Mahomes, the run against the Titans. You can continue to go down the line and name all of these different scrambles that Patrick Mahomes has had in the postseason. And this year, that has been 3, 4, 5 times a game that's what he's had to do. Mahomes, through 14 games this year, has been hit more times than at any first 14 games of his career. More than last year's tackle issue. Last year's issue at offensive line, Mahomes has been hit 6 more times through the first 14 games this year than he did last year, because he's scrambling almost 1 more time per game this year and it's resulting in more hits. Before last year, when they had the huge tackle issue, he was about 118 hits in the per season in the first 14 games, about 118. Last year was 147. This year's 153. It's going in the wrong direction, and his age is going in the wrong direction to be able to withstand that. It is not a shock that the leg gave out eventually in a hit when he's pulled down, when he's been doing this for the last couple of years to carry what has been a lack of creativity, a staleness, and weapons around him that aren't getting the job done, and a running game that anemic would be embarrassing to things that were anemic, to call it that.
So the run game, I think, is a great point. The one thing, again, I'm not trying to carry water for the offensive line or carry water for the wide receivers and weapons. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But it is, to me, more of a scheme issue than anything else. You look at what the Chargers are doing, they might be the only team more banged up on the offensive line than the Chiefs, and they're 10-4.
He and Herbert are the quarterbacks that have been hit the most times this year.
Sure.
Mahomes and Herbert.
But my point is they're still 10-4. They're finding ways.
Right.
And I'm not saying they have the best weapon core in the entire NFL either.
Yeah.
You look around the NFL and you see teams, you watch the Seahawks game. You see sometimes JSN running wide open. You'll see Cooper Kupp running wide open. You see A.J. Barner running wide open. When was the last time you've just seen these wide open receivers for Kansas City? To me,
the Raiders game.
This is an antiquated, outdated, that's what it is. This is an offense that has not changed while the rest of the league has, and they're stuck in 2022. Again, this is my frustration. You see Phillip Rivers coming off of the couch. Now, I know they didn't win the game. I know they didn't score a lot of points, but at least he got the ball out quick. Like, why can't the Chiefs ever just try and get the ball out quick to try and help Patrick? Why, unless he says...
I think that's unfortunately all they've become. Like that, the slant to Rashee Rice when Jefferson came up and made the clean hit. I mean, like Jefferson was 20 yards away and broke on it at the snap, knew exactly what was coming. Because somehow the last 2 years, this offense has been turned into Alex Smith running the offense, running the ball and quick passes. Like somehow Brett Veach and Andy Reid and everybody else has a hand in it, have together created Alex Smith out of Patrick Mahomes. And that's inexcusable. It can't happen. Whether that's personnel, scheme, whatever it might be, offensive line, what have you, running game, that's what we're seeing with this team way too often is let's get the ball out quickly, get the ball out quickly, short passes, or Mahomes scramble in second play and go and make something happen. And that's what we've seen. We need to take a timeout. We'll get to your phone calls. John's waiting on hold. We'll get to you first. 913-381-1010. Open phone lines. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Plenty of stuff more to talk about with this one. Priorities for the Chiefs heading into the offseason. They currently have the 11th pick in the draft. They could move up to number 10. I think that's probably as close as they're going to get. It's the 10th pick because they're 2 games ahead of 9, which is the Bengals, so they're not going to catch those teams, but they could be the 10th pick. They could also slide back if they win a couple of games, but right now the 11th pick in the draft, we can talk a little bit about that, what they may have to do contract-wise in the offseason as well. Your phone calls on the other side of the break. More Zone next. Well, you know, it wasn't a great day on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs, but maybe it was a great day for you on the DraftKings app, America's top-rated sportsbook app in Missouri. Your moment, it's finally here because it's live. DraftKings live in your state, and now you can make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more, all from your phone, all safe, secure, and easy to use. And Missouri fans, you know that game day, the tailgates, the noise, the passion, you know all about it. And now with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bring that same energy to every snap, every touchdown, every win. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code 810WHB. New Missouri customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code 810WHB. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll talk with Field Yates coming up at 11:30, 913-381-0810. We go to the phone lines. John waiting to join the show here on this Monday. John, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Thanks. I'm thinking about how Jawan Taylor has done and how Bill Moss came on your station talking about why he was on New Day talking about why Jawan Taylor fails the way he does with lining up in the backfield. Mm-hmm. And it's because Jawan Taylor is more afraid of the guy on the other side of the line of scrimmage than he is of his coaches. And, that's a cancer that spreads. I've been down here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for a while and saw the Cowboys in their heyday. And the players were afraid of Jimmy Johnson. Not all of the players, because the guys that really worked their butts off, that had aspiration, didn't have to be afraid. But he would make an example of one or two guys. And Taylor could have been and should have been a guy that reached the bench and they pull one of the other guys up and say, you're starting this week. He's not starting. Because if Jawan Taylor were more afraid of his coaches, it would have been better. And then you've got a guy who's a wide receiver, presumably number one receiver, who's speeding up and down Central Expressway or the Tollway or whatever it was. He's got a Super Bowl ring, and he's very satisfied with where he is in life, unlike his quarterback who wants 7 Super Bowls. He's got 1 Super Bowl, and he's satisfied. And I just think the coaching staff's approach has just been, and it's not just the coaching staff, but it's friends and family, don't you think? I think it's become friends and family because they got coaches on that staff that shouldn't be there, and we could talk about who those are. But it's not the lack of accountability. I get that they want to circle the wagons, all be brothers, all be together to cover each other's backside, but they've got way too much of that. What do you think?
Yeah. John, I appreciate the phone call, man. 913-381-810. Thank you for listening down there in Fort Worth as well. I remember when Bill made that point about Jawan Taylor lining up with the illegal formation and being that far away from the line of scrimmage from the defender because he was essentially not confident that his ability would be able to block the guy across from him. So he needed that little bit of an edge. And whether Jawan Taylor was more afraid of the opposition than the coaches, last year they did not have the ability to bench Jawan Taylor. They were so worried about what was going on at left tackle that they just had to live with the issues at right tackle. This year, I think they had the ability to do that because they could have gone to Jalen Moore while Josh Simmons was playing. But then Josh Simmons left and Jalen Moore is there, so you're kind of hamstrung to that degree as well. It's kind of hard to bench somebody when you don't want to injure number 15. So benching a receiver for dogging a route is a little bit easier than benching a right tackle for lining up off sides, and now you put your quarterback at risk because you've got an inferior player there on the right side than what you think you would have. So I understand that element of it. But it's also a reason why they will be moving on from Jawan Taylor this offseason. That Jawan Taylor may have played his final reps for the Kansas City Chiefs because if he does not return these next 3 weeks, he's not going to return next year. They will save $20 million against the cap with Jawan Taylor. His larger point is about the coaching staff and whether there is some sort of a fear of the coaching staff. When we hear players talk about Andy Reid, there is a level of fear of Andy Reid that they've talked about. I mean, we hear on the podcast with Jason Kelsey and Travis Kelsey talk about, Andy Reid, that, you love him, but you also are scared of him at times. And certain looks, like Travis Kelsey wouldn't even ask Andy Reid to go on the podcast because he was sort of scared of him. And Jason Kelsey would talk about a certain look that Andy Reid would give you. So I think there is a level of respect, fear, whatever you want to call it, for the head coach. I don't know that is there for some positional coaches, quite frankly. I don't. Because do those positional coaches demand it? Do they have the level of credibility to demand it? Where some of those, Spags can demand it, he's got the level of credibility. How many Super Bowl rings does he have in his career as a defensive coordinator? Andy Reid can demand it. Joe Cullen, been there, done that. Dave Merritt developed players, been there, done that. Andy Heck, you can throw that one in there just because he's got the experience long term. But when he says, John says friends and family for the coaching staff, it's one of the things that I've been annoyed by. Like, the Kansas City Chiefs organization and franchise should not be a developmental camp for coaches. It shouldn't be. It should be a destination. It should be you've gone and done this and this over there. Now you're ready to come up to the big boys. Now you're ready to advance to the big boys. We win Super Bowls. We're a dynasty here. You've done some good things there. Let's roll here. Not, hey, you played for me one time, not even this position. So come on over. We've got an opening. You'll learn it. You'll figure out how to be a running backs coach, wide receiver guy, Todd Pinkston. You'll figure out the running back coach thing. It's all good. No worries whatsoever. I root for Connor Embry because he's a local guy. But does Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy or any of those guys fear like running a route or dogging it that they've got to come back and answer to Connor Embry? Or even Matt Nagy? Like maybe to Andy Reid, but like, you know, oftentimes you had to come back to the sideline and answer to Eric Bieniemy. Maybe that's what's missing. I don't know. Maybe that was overblown at the time. I don't know. But there is an element that of accountability and holding somebody to that standard. We talked about this last week. We don't need to harp on it this week. But I think Rashee Rice is missing the bigger point here. Okay, it's the third week in a row that he's left before the media got in there. People may or may not care. You know, that's fine. But to give sort of a smirk at the media while you're leaving is also an understanding of you know what you're doing and you know it's been talked about and you're doing it almost as a bleep you to them. Well, I got news for Rashee Rice. Who have the Chiefs paid? They've paid Nick Bolton when people didn't think they should pay Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton, upstanding citizen, answers questions, great dude. Every week is there, leader. He's a leader on the field, but also a leader off the field and willing to stand there and take accountability. They paid Creed Humphrey. People didn't want him to pay Trey Smith, but they did. If Trey Smith were Rashee Rice, were a guy that got in trouble in the offseason, suspended 6 games, walks out before the media gets there, argues with the quarterback, you know, mistakes on the field, you think they pay Trey Smith? Hell no. They love Trey Smith. They love him in the locker room. They love him around town. He's a jolly giant. They're willing to pay him. People may disagree on who they pay, but there's a trend there. They wanted to pay Tyreek Hill. Okay, it's playmakers / difference makers and guys that play well and also hold themselves to a certain standard. Tyreek Hill was a difference maker and a playmaker. They wanted to pay him until it got too expensive. Then they said, sorry, you're not worth it. You're not worth it. Not worth the headache, not worth whatever. Orlando Brown, they wanted to pay until it wasn't worth it. We'll move on. But if Rashee Rice wanted a contract extension this offseason, if he was thinking about that, all he's done is lose money this year.
Yeah.
He's been suspended 6 games. That may have cost him a game here or there. He's dropped passes, and he has no accountability. And then to leave the locker room and offer a little smirk as a little smile at the media while walking by shows your understanding of what's going on. Because sometimes when you have the larger crowd, the vocal, whether it be majority or minority, that is wanting somebody to be paid, wanting somebody to stay, that can also help and maybe influence to a degree. It shouldn't, but I think it does. And if you've got a lot of people saying, well, I'm good without Rashee Rice. I don't know how many people will say that. I'm not sure. But what I've seen this year is somebody that is not a number 1 receiver. Somebody that I'm not sure will grow to be a number 1 receiver. Somebody that against the Houston Texans was taking plays off, was jogging at times, was quitting on routes, had a big drop. He got rocked in the game last week. He got rocked in the game a couple of times this week, so I'm not even going to count those as drops. Those were fantastic plays. That sucks. That's unfortunate. But he's also not open other than quick slants and throws down the line of scrimmage. How many intermediate routes are they hitting Rashee Rice on? How much separation is he gaining? Against man-to-man coverage, Rashee Rice is right there with Juju Smith-Schuster as last on the team in separation against man coverage this year. That's not a number 1. That's barely a number 2. It is schemed up touches for somebody who's like a running back in the open field as a wide receiver. it matters. The other parts of what you do, that matters to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think he's missing the bigger picture of the money that he's probably costing himself. But I also don't know that he has a level of fear to when he goes to the sideline of who he would be answering to. Because I'm not sure what's going on in the film room when you're watching him take plays off and jog and quit on plays and quit on routes.
That to me is frustrating when you know that he is a talented guy and you're not getting the results. Because it's not like he's not talented, because we've seen him before look really, really good. So when you see him drop the ball, be a guy who's not getting any separation, be a guy who is taking plays off, well, then that's effort. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
I mean, because we've seen him be good. Now, if you want to make the case that, well, that was pre-injury, pre-suspension, missing that many games, well, he looked good when he just came back. First few games back, he looked the exact same as he did prior to the injury. So
it's weird. After the Raiders game, he was talking for a while. Like, he was up there smiling and answering every question. It was odd. I'm not sure why. What's the difference in the Raiders game?
I'm not saying that the media, you have the people are like, oh, they don't need to talk to you. I
don't care.
Well,
they can say that all they want. I don't care.
That's totally fine. Okay, but then don't expect to get on us when you want questions, and then we try.
Nobody wants
and
to
they
hold
don't want to talk.
And nobody wants to hold Andy's feet to the fire.
It's a two-way street here, man. It's just
I don't care.
No, but it just again, they don't have to. But when you do something along those lines, which again I didn't see, or this was news to me, but if that did happen, that's a guy who knowingly is.
But don't talk when you're winning. Then don't talk when you go out there and have 120 yards and a touchdown. Don't do that. Don't do it then. Then leave early. But when you talk and you wait around and you do that and you go to the podium when you have that game, but then you leave early when you have a rough game, just shows me. It's a glimpse into who you are, and I think the Chiefs notice that as well. Whether that's the bigger issue or not, there's probably far greater issues on this team than that.
Oh, of course.
But I think it can start to become a symptom of an erosion of those in the sort of locker room where there's hubris and arrogance, and everybody got to eat, got to the point to where they were sort of fat and happy and satisfied to where they were this year. And a lot of it could be pointed to, last year, the ball bounced their way. They came away with some wins, and that was awesome, and that sort of builds momentum. And this year that hasn't happened, so it's easier to let go of the rope at times maybe. But it's also feeling a little front-runner-ish. And you don't need to have front-runners on the team. You need new blood that's hungry and doesn't have a ring and wants to do whatever it takes to get one.
Well, I think, too, what I always try to take into account when it comes to answering questions afterwards, we've seen some guys, and it could be any sport. It could be Chris Webber's timeout in the national championship game. It can be Jeff Hoffman at this past World Series giving up the game-tying home run to Miguel Rojas. Those guys don't want to step in front of the mic, but they almost kind of feel this obligation of, I need to do it for my teammates. I need to do it for the fans of, I'm going to go out there and express my feelings. And, hey, I understand, too, not everybody's built the same. There are guys that are more volatile, maybe thinking to themselves, I probably shouldn't speak to the media because I'm going to say something I regret. Like I look back to last week, Travis Kelce having the ball that was then picked off. Mm-hmm. He might have thought, I'm going to say something stupid that I don't really want to do. I don't want to get fined. I don't want to get in any controversial situation. That's certainly understandable. What I find weird this game is that all of the guys that were reported to have left early or to decline to answer comments, they didn't lose the Chiefs the game. It was just this matter of, we don't want to talk. And I guess what I would say from this whole story, and I was saying off air to you guys, is then it really does make me appreciate, though, the guys that did stay and answer those questions, because it's not fun for them either. They don't want to stick around and answer tough questions about a team that's not going to the postseason for the first time in over a decade. It's not fun that they had to either be on the sideline or be on the field watching their Hall of Fame quarterback go down with a season-ending injury. None of that is fun to talk about, and this season has not been fun to talk about. But to me, it's easy. It's easy to go out there when you put up 180 and you get to joke and have fun in the post-game pressers, and everybody's asking you what your favorite food is or what do you like to do to celebrate games. That's fun to go and answer questions like that. But I do believe there is that difference in a lot of guys that you watch, and it doesn't have to be here in Kansas City, but in those really tough moments, you miss the field goal to win you the game from 30 yards out. everybody's calling for your head, and we've seen some horrible things in sports of what is sent to these players, and yet we still will see some of those guys put their face in front of a camera and microphone and answer those questions. And sometimes it doesn't help their case. People only pile on even more. But I think from those situations, it always makes me appreciate the guys that nobody, not me, if I did something like that, I sure as hell would not want to step in front of the mic, but almost kind of without knowing, they do it anyway. They don't have to be forced into answering questions. They just say, yeah, I'm going to sit here. I mean, Jeff Hoffman in the World Series said, I cost every single guy in this locker room a World Series ring. I'm the reason we're not hoisting the trophy. And, of course, everybody says, no, it's not you. It's all of us. We lose as a team. We win as a team. But to hear somebody say that, it's that accountability part where, hey, if you decline to answer, like Travis Kelce said, you don't have to answer those questions, as Sterling said. But sometimes to me, when you walk out, you weren't even the reason they lost. Rashee Rice had 7 catches yesterday, a couple drops, but he got lit up. He was not the reason they lost. I just find it odd that you leave for the 3rd straight week, isn't it?
Yeah. Before
you answer questions. I mean, it's not that you need to give everybody a novel when you're answering questions, but I don't know. I just would like to see some of those questions answered.
I would say as we go to break here, and we'll get into priorities at the top of the hour and some more phone calls as well, 913-381-0810. I know people are waiting patiently to join the show. I get it. But we'll get back into that. I would say to make a Royals example, I don't want the Royals to trade Vinny Pasquantino. I think he matters to this team. I think he's more valuable to the Royals than he is to other teams, because other teams will look at a spreadsheet and see what he is, and then they'll give reciprocating value for that. Whereas, how do we view Vinny here in Kansas City? We view him as one of the leaders of the team in the clubhouse, stand-up guy, accountable, takes, blame for anything that happens on the field for himself, or striking out, or making an error. You know how easy it would be to trade Vinny and put Jack at first? Now, let me give you an example of Vinny being an AH, being a malcontent, being a jerk. You trade his ass, get him off the team, and put Jack at first base. No reason to have that guy. He's not offering enough for you to have a log jam at first base and a DH with Salvi that's going to be DHing more, or Carter more of a DH. You can't have a first baseman playing right field because no. But what is Vinny? He's irreplaceable on this team because of the things he does in the locker room or clubhouse, around town as well, and sort of who he is. That's the difference there. I think Trey Smith got paid because he's a really good guard, and also he's really likable around the organization. They really like Trey Smith, and they didn't want him to leave the organization. They had to choose between him and Joe Thuney. It's not like they disliked Joe Thuney. They went with the younger guy who they liked. But if Trey Smith was an AH, they would have stayed with Thuney and let Trey Smith walk. Vinny would be gone. He'd be traded. They'd moved on by now if he was an AH, and they'd make a simple move of moving somebody else to first. But they're not doing that. And that's where I think is missed for the large part of some of these things at that time. Whether it matters now, I think everything needs to be addressed. I think when you miss the postseason, and you miss the postseason essentially not because of an injury. If Mahomes had got injured in week 7, we'd be talking about missing the postseason because of a Mahomes injury. That's not the case. They were barreling towards missing the postseason again, or missing the postseason regardless of an injury. And everything needs to be viewed and addressed, including who the players are in your locker room and what they do as a team, what they do in the locker room, what they bring. Because if you're not bringing it on the field, you can't be an issue in the locker room. Maybe Rashee Rice isn't, maybe he is, but that's for them to decide. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
The likability factor matters, and here's something that I like. Nay, I love FanDuel Sportsbook, baby. They are live in the Show Me state. They are kicking things off with an offer that is phenomenal. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose. It was nice. I decided to go with a wild card last week, and the Sterling Stamp's not worked. So what am I going to do? Wild card, baby. Brady Cook, 175 plus passing yards. What did he get? 176. Thank you, Brady. MIZ. What else did I do? Old man Rivers, Crimea Rivers, 44 years old, haven't played in 5 years. It's one touchdown. It's going to be one touchdown. What did he do? He got me that one touchdown. A lot of fun on FanDuel this past weekend. I did the wild cards. I like the wild cards. So whether it's football, basketball, hockey, or more, you can bet it all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So all you need to do, download FanDuel today or head to FanDuel.com/Missouri and join all the excitement. Because Missouri, it's time to play your game with FanDuel.
All right, went a little long in that hour as we probably thought we may. Wanted to get to more phone calls. We'll do that on the other side of the break, I promise. Those on hold, Mike, you're first up, first on. A couple of others that are there. We'll get to you guys.
I love how Deebs doing this, and we're like,
I
hey,
know.
we're just going to go real long, make it real hard on you.
It's all good.
Phrasing, right? That's probably a phrasing, yeah. Sorry, Deebs. That's
first hour.
Oh, man, that was phrasing.
Real hard.
You know what? I'm glad I said it.
You know what? Good. I'm glad. I planned it. I'm glad I said that. You know what?
I didn't plan
I'm
it.
happy.
See, you always think that I plan these cuts. I don't. I just say dumb things all the time.
None of the stupid things I say are planned. Come on. If I was thinking, I wouldn't have thought that. Okay? More zone next.
That far off. This season suggests that they are far off and they need to make some difficult decisions. And those are not just personnel. I think the people will be justifiably asking whether the offense needs to have a bit of an identity shift and figuring out how you can get back to the top. Because for however long Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback, the Chiefs will not be measured by just making the playoffs. It will be competing for Lombardi trophies. And this forces your hand to take a step backwards and examine all areas that led you to fall short here. And it's not just the uncontrollables, the injuries that take place. Injury attrition certainly was an issue for this team, especially along the offensive line recently. But some of it was controllable as well. The things that are more of a byproduct of your effort and your approach, I think, need to be examined this offseason as well.
Yeah, the Field Yates is our guest from ESPN. I was in a conversation over the weekend, and we were talking about just a general question, all right, so what do you think has happened? What's going on with this team? And I said, you know what? I think the lesson that I've taken away from this year is, a year ago they were winning a lot of these close games, and because they had been so successful and they had been to back-to-back Super Bowls, and at that point 4 out of 5 years of making a Super Bowl and winning 3 of them, and barreling towards another Super Bowl or another number 1 seed, I said, me on the air, and I think a lot of people sort of looked at it and said, yeah, they're winning 1-score games, but this team just simply knows when to make plays, when it matters, turning it on at the right time. They simply lock in where other teams may panic, and you get a blocked field goal or a fumble or whatever it might be along the way that the Chiefs get their victories last year. And I said, I think the lesson here is viewing it that way and not how fleeting some of those games were and how they sort of culminated in that stretch of winning those games, where I think also I could make a strong case that the Chiefs may have gone to the offseason thinking the same thing. And they came into this year, and now the lesson this year, Field, is they were making those same mistakes last year. They were just on the right side of the ledger after the game is over. And this year they're not on the right side of the ledger, so it's yet another year making those same mistakes. They're just not winning the games. And I think last year the lesson is sort of chalking it up to they're just winners as opposed to the football god, some things fall in your favor.
Yeah, I think I had said a couple of appearances back that my colleague Bill Barnwell had summarized the Chiefs at the time. I agree with this, is in a lot of ways similar to last year's Chiefs, just the things that tend to be subject to variance, the Chiefs had done successfully all the time, winning 1-score games, making those kind of crucial plays, or having their opponents not make those crucial plays last year. The bill has come kind of due this year. You lose all the 1-score games. You have plays like the Devin Lloyd 99-yard interception return for a touchdown that go against you as opposed to in your favor. But yeah, I do think, I think there is going to be, I think that this has definitely been a wake-up call for Kansas City. There's no two ways about this. It's not a bad roster by any means. It's an excellent roster, but I do think there has been some realization that just because the roster on paper looks really good and because you've got the ultimate closer in Patrick Mahomes and you know how to win those late-season games and win those close games, those things are true until they're not, and it turns out that you can find out they're not true in a hurry, and that's where the Chiefs are right now. If you're looking for silver linings, again, it's the hands being forced. The hope, we're in a different era now with ACLs, right? ACLs are a fairly common injury in the NFL, and many players have come back and looked no worse for the wear. So this is not something that I think jeopardizes the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. You're also going to have a premium draft pick for the first time in forever. Yeah. You're also going to play a third-place schedule next year. There's some benefit in that. that Kansas City will reap. So things can get back on track in a hurry for the Chiefs, but this feels like the most important offseason in a decade for this Kansas City franchise.
Visiting with Field Yates from ESPN, the show in the previous segment, Sterling and Jack, who hangs out with us on Monday, we went through and said, all right, this is conversation number one of what we'll have 500 times this offseason, but what's the priority? What do we do with the Chiefs? What do we look at for this team? What is Brett Veach and this front office and the coaching staff? What's the priority? And I admitted that I kind of cheated because, you had one answer that was like, you got to figure out a running game. And another answer that was, man, how do you get after the quarterback? You've got to be able to do that. And I said, well, I cheated because I said the priority this offseason is all about number 15. That's it. And if you go out and get a defensive end, that's fine. But a defensive end that can sack the quarterback if 15's not behind center, then it doesn't matter. To me, the offseason is priority number one. Patrick Mahomes, why has he been hit more times the last 2 years than he has been hit in seasons long before that, where you're talking about 14 games and he's already had, highs in times he was hit these last 2 years? Why is that happening? Why is he looking and saying, I need to run an extra scramble per game than what he has done in his career and even more than what he does in the postseason? Why are those happening? Is it the scheme? Is it the running game? Is it weapons? Whatever it is, the priority is number 15 in the next era cannot be a guy who through 14 weeks is averaging 150 hits the last 2 years and hit, only he and Justin Herbert have been hit the most times this year. That can't be the case moving forward for Patrick Mahomes. So to me, priority number one is, people can say defense, offensive line, what anything you can come up with in the offseason of trying to figure these things out. Trade McDuffie, to me, whatever it is about number 15 in the next era, that's the entire structure and focus first and foremost. How do you do that? Is it an update to the scheme? Is it drafting Jeremiah Love? Is it getting weapons? Whatever it might be, number 15 in the next era needs to be the number one priority.
Couldn't agree more, Jason. Before you went into your thoughts there, when you said what is the number one priority, my answer was going to be without hesitation offensive line protection. And I get it. They've made investments there. I'm not ignoring, a 4-year, $80 million contract for Jawan Taylor, obviously a deal that, hasn't worked out brilliantly, but, still they threw money at him and Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith and using a first-round pick on Josh Simmons. All of those things, to me, can be true, while also acknowledging they got to get better up front. They have to find a way to keep Patrick Mahomes upright, because I just think that if you do that, A, he's your most important asset. B, it opens up so much more of the offense. Part of the reason why the running game is not good. And I don't think the running back room is great by any stretch. But I do think that they are just bottled up because teams don't feel threatened by the downfield passing game right now for Kansas City. And you can't threaten team downfield unless you can protect your quarterback. So you can have the fastest guy in the history of the combine at 4.21 speed, and he's kind of been rendered a role player for Kansas City and Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to find a way to make Patrick Mahomes the most comfortable he has been in years. It just gives this team, and he's going to do amazing things as a scrambler and buying extra time and second reaction plays and all that. But the offensive line was concerning this season. It was certainly concerning yesterday. I don't care if you draft an offensive lineman with each of your first 3 picks. And I know that they've tried that, but swinging after swinging and missing is still worth it to me. I know that, maybe you thought you had something in Kingsley Suamataia as your left tackle of the future and other investments they have made. I get it. Not all of them work out, but you got to keep hammering away, because I'd like to know which NFL offense right now is good with a bad offensive line. And that to me is somewhat simplifying things, but not oversimplifying them in a ridiculous way.
I'm hoping that the injuries are a big part of what we've seen this year. And if Josh Simmons comes back, although this is the second year in a row he hasn't finished a football season, and he also left for a month, which we still don't know what happened with that. But I'm hoping that they got that right and that they can go into this offseason and say we have a left tackle. And you're paying Creed and you're paying Trey Smith. You've got to figure out right tackle, certainly, and you've got to assess whether or not Kingsley is your guy at left guard, and that may be the case. You've got the mock draft that came out last week. You've got him taking Jeremiah Love. What would that do for this offense by offering a running game And to me, I think that's where you can sort of marry is there needed to be a refreshing of the scheme, an update to the scheme, going to more 12 or 13 personnel, which they ran a lot in 2022. That's something Andy Reid really liked doing. They've gone away from that. They face light boxes constantly, and yet they still can't run the football. Would a dynamic runner, if it's Jeremiah Love or insert name here, a dynamic runner, how far would that go for this offense? And again, I think that is also focusing on number 15 because it means he doesn't have to then have the weight of the offense on his shoulders each and every play. That it's an RPO. Okay, well now he still has to make a decision. Like he's still reading it and looking to see if he's going to throw it or hand off. You've got Jeremiah Love. Let's just go with Jeremiah Love and him in this offense, what he would do.
Yeah, so I think Jeremiah Love is a top 5. Like if they're going to do grades, and I think there's a little bit more nuance to draft grades. I think you have to account for positional value and also replaceability of that position. So I don't want to speak out of both sides of my mouth, but I think if you were to do Madden ratings, which is a ridiculous way to talk about draft prospects, but hear me out here for a second. What I'm trying to get is if you're talking about sure things in the draft, Jeremiah Love's on the list of the three surest things in this upcoming year's draft class. The Raiders are an example of why putting the cart before the horse can be very tricky with drafting blue-chip running back prospects. I think Jackson Genty's really good. I just think that he basically has to navigate traffic to get like even 3 yards in that Raiders offense. The Chiefs would be a different example, right? Because, and I thought when I did that mock draft last week, that Jeremiah Love would not be there when the Chiefs picked. I thought it would be A, lower than 14th, and B, didn't think he would get there to number 14. The Chiefs could be 10 or 11 or 12, right? Mm-hmm. If who knows? Maybe they go 8, 9, and then take us more like 14th, 15th, 16th for them. But Love, if he goes to a team very high in the draft, in the first half of the first round of the NFL draft, I would hope that it's a team that is legitimately close to competing for the playoffs next year and kind of had the season where everything that could go wrong did go wrong, which would be where the Chiefs qualify. So he's an amazing player. He's a game changer. He's an absolute weapon in the passing game. He is terrific in the running game, obviously, as well. He can make you miss. He's got excellent elusiveness in the hole. He's very instinctive as a runner. He's an off-the-charts young man as well. He is a total package. While I just sat here and told you I want the Chiefs to bang the offensive line gavel this offseason, if they don't, and they end up with a guy like Jeremiah Love, I'm just telling you, I'm not going to begrudge a team like the Chiefs who's looking for instant offense, taking a guy who I think is one of the surest things in the upcoming NFL draft. Have they been burned by a first-round running back recently? Mm-hmm. Yes, they have. I get that. That being said, each draft is a new one, and you can't simply, you can't just allow the past to dictate your future. So it would be a consideration if he makes it that far based off where Kansas City is picking.
All right, we'll see what ends up happening. Field Yates from ESPN, our NFL insider, joining us here every Monday. Field, really appreciate the time, sir, as always, and we will talk next Monday.
Sounds good, my friend. Talk to you then.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates from ESPN. Great stuff from him, as always. Yes, it is, as he said when we're talking about, is there a case to be made that for the long term, missing the playoffs is the best for the organization? The Mahomes injury completely put aside from that standpoint, and he said, quote, at least this has forced their hand in addressing everything, and I agree with that, and I hope they view it the same way. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Kansas City might not be at the top at the end of this football season, but this tequila always is because they've won countless platinum and gold medals. You know, I am talking about the undefeated flavor of El Bandito Yankee Tequila, an ultra premium.
We'll continue talking some NFL today. On the other side, we'll hear from Chris Jones. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up at 12:30. Mick Schaefer joins us at 1 o'clock. Learn funniest best from the weekend as well. Can we do a learn funniest best and worst? I don't know.
I'll do a worst.
Yeah, learn funniest worst. But I think we all would have the same worst, so I don't know that can really. It's nothing new or interesting about that, you know?
I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Well, Ketel Marte has a no trade clause for 5 teams. Royals aren't one of those.
Yeah, take that.
Allegedly.
Take that.
Allegedly.
Yeah, look at that. Quickly. Hot stoving it. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I do want to hear from Chris Jones. We'll talk about some other things that happened in the game yesterday. see if they can go 6-11. Let's do it. Let's do it, everybody. Let's figure this thing out.
I mean, this is a tankathon.
It should be. Should be about who's going to be playing more, about Brashard Smith, about Jalen Royals, Jeffrey Bassa. Continue to play Kevin Knowles and Noel Williams. Those guys. Jaden Hicks should be playing more, not Mike Edwards. Anytime you were giving Mike Edwards over Jaden Hicks when you were trying to make the playoffs, that doesn't need to happen anymore.
Yeah.
I don't need to see Jaden Hicks on the sideline and Mike Edwards playing. That should not happen moving forward.
Sure.
There's zero reason for that to be the case. So I understood it the last couple of weeks.
Sure.
But not the next three. Not the next three.
I'd even say Nick Bolton if he needs a. I mean, he took some shots that last game. That one where his head snapped back. I couldn't tell if it was his jaw, if he was getting checked for concussion, but he looked shaken up a few times that game. I would say, one, let's see if Leo can take that role to see if he can do that.
Yeah.
To see what his value is and what he looks like going forward. Because right now, Drew Tranquil's kind of that backup, or in this case, it was Jack Conklin, right? We saw him come in. But yeah, play Bassa, see what he can provide you, and just I'm not saying to tank on purpose because, for example, a lot of these guys are still playing for jobs next year.
Yeah.
A lot of you're not going to tank. Even horrible teams. We saw the Texans. What was it with Lovie Smith, and they won that final game. And they instead of getting the first pick, they got I think the second draft pick because they won. Guys are playing for jobs. You're not going to tank. So like for Minshew, for example, I do want to see Minshew look good. Because what if that means that you can stick with him for 6 games next year? He's not under contract next year, but you got to figure out a quarterback. And Kansas City's not a great landing spot for. I know people want Kyler Murray. Well, Kyler Murray, the quarterback.
People want Kyler Murray. Like
I've seen a lot of people say. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say this, and
a lot of people. Kyler Murray, the Murray family, Bill Murray.
I mean, again, the issue is he's going to get paid too much money. He's going to get paid probably Justin Fields money, and you're not doing that for 6 games.
Yeah, I don't.
And
whoever said that needs to stop saying that. Needs to go back in time.
But again, the point is, you got to find a guy for what is the 4 to 8 games? Probably the consensus ish at this point.
I'd say 4. Hopefully 1 or 2. Hopefully 0, but I'd say you probably count on 4.
And if that's the case, then you're not going to bring in a guy who's trying to revitalize his career and do it because. They're not the guy. Yeah. They know that Patrick's the guy. Yeah. And that it's not a full season. So
and it's better to do it at the beginning of the season when you know you're going to miss him rather than 4 games in the middle of the year. Where in 2019 they missed the 3 games when he hurt his knee against the Broncos and Matt Moore came in and they beat the Vikings and beat the Packers with Jordan Love.
Yeah.
And his parents that were watching it in the Goodyear blimp, which was cool that they were there for that. So they had Matt Moore in the game, and they won a couple of those games, and then Patrick Mahomes returned, and they went on and won the Super Bowl.
Davis Mills went 3-0 this year, filling in for C.J. Stroud.
Right, so Gardner Minshew, these last 3 games, will have sort of a tryout to see if he can be the guy that if called upon, and they need a quarterback to play the first 3 weeks of the season, that he's a guy that can do that. And they would have training camp and those preseason games to get that guy ready to play quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs in those first few games. As long as that first game is not in Australia, which I feel pretty good it's not going to be, which is great.
Although he does look like he could be Australian, Gardner Minshew, so that might be a bad call.
Good point. Maybe he would want to do that. I'm not sure.
So I guess as we sit here on December 15th, do you think Gardner Minshew will be back and will be the starter the first few games of the season next year? And would you be comfortable with that?
At this point, yeah, I'd say he's the leader in the clubhouse because he's had a year with the system.
Yeah.
And then he would have, he'd be playing these last 3 games as the starting quarterback, as opposed to Blaine Gabbert or Carson Wentz that were around and then didn't really play. And now you've got Gardner Minshew that's going to be out there playing. Now maybe he goes out there and is just bad. And they're like, yeah, he's toast. He's done. We saw this, and you can't do this or that in the game, and this was the problem, and, yeah, we're just going to go find somebody else. We're going to put way more of a priority into who the backup quarterback is going to be because we know that guy. We're going to plan on that guy playing the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, and if he doesn't have to play any, that's great. Just like we're planning on Jalen Moore as the starting left tackle, and if he never plays left tackle because Josh Simmons is drafted in April and he plays all year, well, then that's great. But you're planning on a worst-case scenario at that point. So I would say the leader in the clubhouse is Gardner Minshew right now to be the quarterback next year. And that's his job the next 3 weeks is to earn that job, to get himself another job or an additional year of that job.
And wouldn't you also say, at least I thought this, this was the an investment, not necessarily monetarily speaking, but his investment in general of Gardner Minshew is the most we've seen in the backup quarterback. A guy who's been a starter recently and been good. Like Carson Wentz maybe fit that category, but we all knew that he was on the down slope of his career. Chad Henne, Matt Moore, Oladokin, all those guys. Gardner Minshew had been productive fairly recently. I thought that this was the year where they actually invested a little bit into the backup quarterback spot. I mean, again, I know that he's got great hair and mustache, and as mustache men, we have to stay together.
Yeah, that makes
but
sense.
I just think that this was actually a good pickup in the offseason. Yeah, I would be comfortable with him as of now, and then again, maybe
I
the
hope
last
he plays
3 weeks.
well in 3 losses. That'd be great. I hope Gardner Minshew is like, you know what? Hey, it's serviceable quarterback as they lose 3 games. I'd be perfectly fine with that, and them sitting 6-11 and having a top 10 pick. Because right now they're the 11th pick in the draft. Let's go Dolphins coming up tonight. Let's hear from Chris Jones. Look, if Patrick Mahomes hadn't torn his ACL yesterday and they end up losing, because who knows, they may have come back and won that game with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback as opposed to Gardner Minshew that threw the interception there late. I mean, Minshew did overcome a 1st and 20 because, unfortunately, on the play that Mahomes got injured, there was a penalty to holding with Chugadrick, so that's kind of pressed aside there. Like, oh, well, that's right, there was a holding penalty.
Do you ever
there.
feel bad for the refs that have to make that call? I do a little
While
bit.
Mahomes is
While
laying on the
Mahomes is laying on the
holding.
ground, and they're like, holding
Yeah, what are you going to do?
on this guy.
So they may have come back and won, and we might be talking about them being alive by the skin of their teeth and the Colts losing yesterday and all of that stuff. But that's not the case. We were talking a lot about Patrick Mahomes and what the priorities are now moving forward. We have talked so often about a play here, a play there. Like, it is constant coming from the Chiefs that we're so close, we're so close, we're so close. It's a play here, play there. We hear that at the podium a lot. And I think this is indicative of the mindset around a play here and a play there, and the missing the bigger picture of what the impact of one play can have. One simple, dumb mistake that can have. Juwan Taylor lining up offsides against Denver, or a legal formation, may have cost them that game. It's like, well, it happened in the third quarter. Right, but they would have had 1st and goal at the 2. Instead, it was a drive in which Mahomes threw an interception. Okay? It cost him at minimum 3 points, probably 7 points in a game you lost by 3. That can't happen. The interception pick 6 can't happen. Dropped this, dropped that, penalty here, penalty there. You know, the Josh Simmons penalty against the Cowboys, whether it was a hold or not, you know, that brought it back from where was going to be a 1st and 10 at the 25-yard line with that dump-off pass to Pacheco right before half. Instead, you're moved back, you don't get any points before half in a game where you lost by 3. So those things add up. But I heard this from Chris Jones, and a lot of people were focusing on Chris Jones in the question about, you know, are we eliminated or we're not in the playoffs? And I said, yeah, you're out. Okay. And by the way, I have no problem with him not knowing they were eliminated, because it wasn't win or a loss. It wasn't lose and you're eliminated. It was lose, and 2 other things had to happen as well. So I can understand Chris Jones losing and not going, hey, did the Bills win? Did they come back and win? Hey, what happened in that Houston Texans game or the Colts game? Did those things happen? Are we eliminated? He's getting dressed, going to the podium, knowing that, hey, even a loss doesn't end your season, and saying, well, you know, there's still a chance. Wait, are we eliminated? Yeah, okay. Because I saw some people like, wow, he didn't even know he was eliminated from the playoffs with the loss. Well, the loss didn't eliminate him. It was the loss coupled with 2 other things that had to happen. But later on in his at the podium, there was a question about lining up offsides, and the Chiefs called timeout because Chris Jones was offsides on a 4th and 1.
Which, by the way, good call by the Chiefs to call timeout. Because at first we were perplexed. I was like,
Watching it going, oh my God, he's offsides. Get back, Chris. Get back, Chris.
and I thought, why were the Chiefs calling timeout?
I saw he was offsides.
Well, I didn't see that right away, and then I saw on the second
He was lined up in the
glance-
backfield. How could you not see it? Sterling.
So good job by the Chiefs to call timeout, though.
Yeah, great job by the Chiefs to call timeout, but apparently not to tell Chris Jones why they called timeout. Anyway,
Correct.
here's Chris Jones asked about the lining up offsides there, that timeout on 4th and 1.
I didn't know. I heard that when I was on the sideline, and Coach Reed told me they called timeout because of that. But I didn't know.
What happened with the swing play then?
We got off the field. They called offsides. Got the 1st down. 3 more plays. We was off the field. You know? You remember?
So here's my point about that, okay? That, to me, that's a problem.
Yes.
It's an absolute problem there. We got off the field. What happened after we got off the field?
You remember.
It wasn't a 5-yard penalty. That was a 46-yard penalty. And that's what Chris Jones is missing there. That was a 46-yard. Do you think Chris Jones is looking at it and saying that was a 46-yard penalty?
No.
Clearly not, because he said, well, what happened after that? We got off the field. No! It was 4th down. It was Chiefs ball at the 48. You got off the field. They punted it to the 6. That's 42 yards. Sorry, I said 46, whatever. 42-yard penalty. From the 48-yard line. Your own 48, but you're at midfield. Down to the 6. That's a 42-yard penalty that it cost them. That's not a 5-yard offsides. When we got off the field, they punted. Remember?
You should have said back, that's a 42-yard penalty. Remember?
But remember, it was 4th down. Remember that the Chiefs got the ball at their own 6 and drove 65 yards to kick a field goal.
By the way, at the beginning, didn't he say, I don't know, I wasn't aware,
Yeah,
but,
they
then
didn't tell
also
me.
said, but then he also said that Andy told me that's why they called timeout.
Probably on the sideline when he came back over. It's like, that's why we called timeout. It's because you're lined up offside.
Okay,
but
so the
nobody
second
told him.
time. Okay.
Yeah, so you call it, which is, again.
But all the way, you can
you
tell
call
if
it
you're.
timeout.
Yeah.
Right, I agree. Line up on sides. You're right there. It's
He
right
also
in
had
front of
another
you.
offsides earlier in the game, by the way.
That wasn't called.
No, he had one that
No,
was called.
that was called. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so he had
that was
multiple
called.
offsides called, and he has
Yeah.
about one a game, so you think that he would know.
So that was the second one in the game that was called, because he had one earlier. That's right. That was called. The one wasn't called because they called timeout. And I'm like,
Yes.
and so I'm sitting there screaming at the TV. He's offsides. And Jim Harbaugh is talking to the official over there. They're going to throw the flag. And then they come back out and he's doing the same thing. And I'm just watching the official up there. I'm like, and as soon as the snap, he throws the flag in the air.
It's like the ref had the hand on the flag the entire. It's like, hey man, I'm going to call this.
But it's that mindset. It's that mindset of not understanding that one play changed the trajectory of the game. The Chiefs get the ball at their own 6. They drive 65 yards to kick a field goal. Okay, had they got the ball at midfield and drove 65 yards, they would be in the stands. But still, that'd be cool. But they would have only needed to drive 52 yards. Maybe they only get a field goal as well. But you don't have to use as many plays. Andy Reid talks about, with drop passes and things like that, you're also using plays. Okay, so now you're at your own 6. To get into field goal range, you're using more plays. Plays that you could have saved for the next possession. But you kick a field goal, and you give it back to the Chargers with, 33 seconds remaining? Whatever it might have been. Which, by the way, that was a disaster defense there. One, the kickoff return. Shocker, special teams lets them down again. Which is a whole different conversation that we can have going into the offseason about the special teams issues on this team that are constant week in and week out. Sky Moore is now a good punt returner for the 49ers.
Yep.
He was a lost cause in Kansas City. Why is he now a good punt returner in San Francisco? Don't the Chiefs have a special teams coordinator? Don't they have somebody that you would think would be able to coach that guy up? Nope. Disaster. Can't be back there to even catch punts, let alone return them. Now he's a return man for the 49ers. Whatever. But the Chiefs get 3 out of that drive. So they go up 13-3 instead of maybe 17-3. I don't know how that changes the next possession for the Chargers. If the Chargers get the ball back with a minute and a half to play or something along those lines, down 17-3. I don't know. No clue. But I know what happened after that. I know the Chargers went down and scored a touchdown. But it's the whole, everything changes at that point. The game script changes. Chiefs get the ball at midfield instead of their own 6. But that's how it's viewed. Oh, well, it was one penalty. That's fine. We still got off the field. It was one penalty. Still got off the field. Oh, we're a play here and a play there. You can't tell me that you're a play here and a play there away from winning when you don't recognize what a 42-yard penalty is and what a 5-yard penalty is.
Yeah.
You don't recognize that. He didn't come off the field after they forced the punt and say, crap, I just put us back there at the 6. He came off the field and said, all right, did our job. Woo! Thank God that didn't get us. Whew, my offsides, thank God that did not affect us at all in any way, shape, or form. We got off the field 3 plays later. Okay, cool.
You remember.
All right.
The snippet
Thank God.
you remember after is
Wipe my brow, sweat,
wild
gone.
to me.
Oh, survived, and there's no impact whatsoever on the game. I couldn't believe that part of it. I don't. Like him not knowing that they're out of the playoffs, yeah, I sort of would expect that.
Sure.
He's not going to be going to the locker room and going, oh, my God, what's going on with the – like you would be doing that if you needed other teams to lose so you could be the 1 seed.
Sure.
And it's a win. You come back, you go, okay, what's happening in this game? What's happening? Like when the Patriots and Dolphins were playing and the Kevin Harlan, I'm calling both games.
Yeah.
That clip.
Oh, good Harlan.
Thank you. He is good. He was good yesterday, too. At that one, you're watching and you're playing your game and winning, and you're also sort of like, oh, we won. What happened there? What happened? Oh, we're the 1 seed? Heck yeah. That's awesome. Cool. You know that. But coming off a loss and a couple of other 3 things have to happen for you to be eliminated, I don't expect you to go to the podium and go, yeah, we're out of it. We were told in the locker room that we're done. We're toast. Because I don't even think Andy Reid would be saying that to the guys. Well, guys, that's it. Eliminated. Take the next 2 days off. We have nothing to play for. No playoffs.
I mean, again, he got called offsides earlier in the game.
Yeah.
He's been in the NFL a long time and gets called probably every other game-ish for an offsides.
And also, if you called timeout because he was offsides, how do you not communicate to Chris Jones that you called timeout because he lined up offsides?
Yes, again, it's multifaceted. it is, but
no, like that is absurd. Like if they
That
really
is
called
nuts.
timeout because he was offsides, and then nobody communicated to him that they're calling timeout because he was lined up offsides, and then he lines up the exact same way again, that is an issue on this team. We want to talk about communication, coaching, guys being in the right spot, attention to detail. You couldn't even communicate why you called the time. Like, that is a losing organization thing. Like, that is a Royals mid-2000s.
Yeah.
Like, losing 100 games. Like, wow, you're doing this. That is Chiefs Romeo Crennel and Todd Haley.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Like, you didn't – hold on. You called timeout because this guy was in the wrong spot, and you didn't tell him, and then he went to the wrong spot again, and you couldn't call back-to-back timeouts because then it would be a 15-yard penalty, and therefore it'd be an automatic first down anyway.
this wasn't even like a, sorry to bring this up, but like a D Ford's offsides or Kadarius Toney where it was close. Like even D Ford was semi-close, right?
Mm-hmm. Because I didn't even notice it in real time.
Yeah,
you know?
Same. This was so obvious, especially the second time after the timeout. I mean, you look at his hand, he's basically touching the football. It's like past the nose.
The helmet is so far over the I mean, it's not even in the neutral zone. It's
Yes,
lined up with the center's helmet.
That's my point. It's like, it's not even close. It wasn't even like okay, I could kind of see. It was borderline. This was so blatantly obvious how far offsides he was. I was just perplexed that in that moment, the lack of awareness was astounding.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things to come away from this game and this entire season that we look at and say, how did all of this culminate to this position that they're in? And I think there are a lot of symptoms from this season that have shown themselves in different games. But those symptoms were wiped away last year because they won the game.
Yeah.
They were able to win late in the game. And I went through and detailed last week when Drew Tranquil said at the podium, well, maybe these things were happening last year and we were just winning those games. And I went through and I said, yeah, they were happening last year and you were winning those games because you were against the Denver Broncos last year. You end up blocking a kick to win the game, and you win by 2. But Harrison Butker kicked the ball out of bounds to start that next drive for the Broncos. You were down 14-13. You went and got the field goal to go up 16-14, and Butker kicked the ball out of bounds. If they went down and made the field goal, we'd be talking about kicking the ball out of bounds. But they missed it. You know what we were talking about after the Jags game? I mean, Butker kicks the ball out of bounds. I mean, yeah, they start that last drive and they score. Well, yeah, you don't have to let him score a touchdown, but it was still an issue that Butker kicked the ball out of bounds against the Jags. He did it against the Broncos. They blocked a kick, so you get away with it. They have penalties in inopportune times last year. They had lack of protection at certain times last year when they were trying to win. And against the Raiders, they had 3rd down and 2 at midfield. And they ran a play action, fine with it, whatever, because the Raiders all ran up to the line of scrimmage, so you got them. But Noah Gray and Travis Kelce were supposed to block a defensive end, and they both missed. And so Mahomes had to fade to his left and fire the ball down the field while getting hit, and it was about 1.5 yards in front of Xavier Worthy that was running and had won.
Yeah.
No time to throw it. If they don't fumble that football, the Raiders, and they kick the field goal and win the game, we might be talking about how does Kelce and Gray, how do you guys miss that block? Why weren't you just handing off on 3rd and 2? You picked up 5 yards and 3 yards in the previous 2 plays. You could have ran it twice. Why didn't you just run it 2 different times and win the game? Instead, you threw a deep ball to Xavier. Fumble. You won the game. No big deal. This team is crazy how they're finding ways to win.
This is why I was glad that Minshew threw an interception, so we didn't have to watch Butker miss that field goal.
No, he'd have made it.
The way that things have gone this year,
I think he'd absolutely made it. He was right down the middle of the field, right down the middle of the goalpost.
The way that things have gone this year, it's not been fun. Again, I just keep going back to all the points you're making. 2022, this was all fresh and new.
Yeah.
This team, again, I go to pre and post Tyreek because I think it's fair, right? I think that's the fair cutoff. 22, this was new. 23, teams new, but they still won a Super Bowl. 24, they got the variant side their way.
They were 24. They were next level, unbelievable, historically ranked on 3rd down efficiency.
So winning is the end-all be-all. That is what matters most. I do not disagree. But winning has masked the antiquated, outdated, non-changed offense of the past 4 seasons now. Yeah. This is, again, I think maybe a good thing in the long run, because now you have to change.
Yeah, because they've had other mistakes where it was just attention to detail here, there. Again, Tampa Bay, they win in overtime. Well, they were running out the clock to win the game. They were up by 7, and Samaje Perine dropped a screen pass. Just dropped it. So they had to punt back to Tampa Bay, who then scored a touchdown. If Tampa went for 2 and won the game, we'd be talking more about how do you just, like, the play worked. It was open. It was going to be a first down. How do you drop it? Now, Perine came back and picked up that first down against the Bills later on in the year in the AFC Championship game, and they won that game, so that's awesome. And against the Chargers, when they bank in a field goal, they're down whatever it was, and they're at 2nd and 4 with and they pick up a 3-yard run, and it should be 3rd down and 1. And instead, Trey Smith gets into it after the game is over and picks up an unnecessary roughness, 15-yard penalty. So now it's 3rd down and 16. And then they have to settle for a field goal. And so they go up 16-13. And then the Chargers go back, or 16-14. Then the Chargers go back and all back and forth. You end up winning the game 19-17. Okay, great. You won that game 19-17. But it could have been a whole lot worse. We could be talking about different things. Those things are happening this year, and they happened last year. So it's 2 years in a row where they have found ways to win games and to cover up some of those issues. You can't do that anymore. You can't go into the offseason saying it's fine. They'll find ways to win. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Andy Reid on the other side of the break. More Zone next. All right, man, if you're out there and you happen to be suffering from erectile dysfunction, look, it is the season. It's the holiday season. You're going to be around friends and family. You don't have to add extra stress. You're going to be around your loved ones. You're going to be around your significant other. And if that is something that's going on, then it just adds other things to the plate. Look, you've got presents and travel and a lot of things right now. Give yourself the gift, man. Go to Heartland Men's Health. Schedule a consult with them today. Your initial visit, it's $99, includes a medical consult with a licensed medical provider, a T and PSA test, and if medically advised, you get a test dose. And if the test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit's free. You don't pay a dime. There you go. If you are suffering from that and you've tried the pills or the herbals and they have failed, well, Heartland Men's Health treatments work when that happens. In fact, they have treatments with success rates well over 90%. An expert staff with 3 locations to serve you: Overland Park, Independence between Blue Springs and Lee Summit, and North Kansas City. You schedule it. And he was asked by Pete Sweeney how he feels Patrick Mahomes will attack rehab after this injury.
Yeah, I think just what you said. He'll attack it, and he just like he does everything else. There've been pretty good quarterbacks that have had the same injuries, and have done pretty well after they came back. So he'll get after it, and he's got good people here to rehab him, and he'll be right on top of all that.
And then Chris Jones mentioned last night just your message of finishing the season strong. With that said, how much can you use these 3 games as an evaluation period for the younger talent on the roster?
Yeah, listen, every game you go into, I mean, it can be Yahtzee, and you want to win. I mean, we're in America here. That's kind of what we do. So you want to go in to play your best, and if the guys are available, they're going to play, and they know that, and they want to do that. So you find out.
It's a game of Yahtzee.
I actually liked, to an extent,
I like playing Yahtzee.
Well, I like this is America. You want to win. I like that
Last time I checked, Pete, this is America.
And we like to win.
Pretty sure we want to win.
I get what he's saying.
I want winners.
I get what he's saying, but I hope it does come down to you do play the young guys. Now, because if they're healthy and available, they're going to play. I'm assuming he means the veterans, but at some point, you're right. Hicks over Edwards. It's nothing against Juju or even eventually Hollywood. Maybe Hollywood take another week off, figure out work through what you're going through, and have Jalen Royals actually play and not just be active. And
I want to talk more Royals moving forward. Jalen and Kansas City.
I'd be okay with, honestly, this is maybe a outlandish opinion.
Probably is.
Play Esapoli the rest of the year. Play.
Well, I mean, you're probably going to have to.
No, but and then play Chu. I would even almost consider saying play Chu Godric the rest of the year.
Well, I don't know a reason to bring Jawan Taylor back, because if you're going to cut him anyway, there's no reason.
That's my point. But with Jawan Taylor, if you don't bring him back,
except for Gardner Minshew going, hey guys, I have a family too. I'm a living, breathing human being. Can you?
I mean, Jalen Moore, sure, yeah, but. I guess my point is, even if you brought Juwan back and Jalen's healthy, I would like to see the younger guys.
I don't need to see Trey Smith the rest of the year.
Let him get his back right.
Nope, I don't need to see all of that stuff. Just move forward. But yeah, so Andy Reid saying that Patrick Mahomes, he'll attack it like he does everything else, and yeah, there's no doubt. If there's one guy that I trust to work hard and be committed to the rehab, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes, because you can't just outwork your way through an injury.
Yeah.
Because it has to take time to heal. But you can stay committed more than others are in how often what you're doing away from the facility, how often you're at the facility, are you doing everything that's asked to do? That commitment, I fully expect Patrick Mahomes to have that. They continued with the press conference. Jesse Newell asked Andy about his communication with Pat over the past 24 hours.
Yeah, I've had a good visit with him a couple different times. So he's in a good place. He always feels like he let people down, but then he comes back and he's ready for the challenge ahead. Which is what's real right now. He's just got to get through surgery wherever it might be, and then move on from there.
Great. And just given some time to process for yourself now, just what are your own thoughts and emotions, kind of knowing now the severity of the injury that he, suffered?
Yeah, I know the process of rehabbing for sure. He'll get in there, and I know he'll come out on the strong end of this thing, and then as we go here, we're finding a lot out on our team. Some of the young guys are having opportunities to play. We're going to finish this season strong and with effort, and then then you get into the off season. But there's I'm always optimistic about going forward, and Brett Veach does a heck of a job with bringing players in, as you can see now by the guys that are in there playing. So, and then it's our responsibility to clean things up on the coaching side of it, and the players to take responsibility on their end and finish these 3 games, and then whoever's still here after to retool it.
And hopefully it's just young players. We've talked about that, but yeah, now moving forward, these last 3 games, they continued. Seren asked Andy, what reason would there be to not play young players to see what they have down the stretch?
Well, Seren, most of them are already playing. Okay. So that's the main thing. I mean, it's I've got to see what the injuries are here and from this game, and then go from there. But most of the young guys are having an opportunity in one phase or another. You only have so many numbers in this thing that you can play with. So in the NFL, it's not quite like college where you have 90 guys that you can just pick and choose from.
And then I know the other question about the offense, obviously the injuries are playing a part of it, but does it feel like, it's just been out of sync all year for whatever reason that you've had some moments where it's been really good. You go back to the Raider game, the Lion game, but a lot of times it just feels like everyone's just kind of like, when you go deep, Pat's talking about, well, maybe you should have checked it down. When he checks it down, he says, well, maybe I should have been aggressive. Have you just felt like you've been kind of out of sync on that all year?
Well, when you lose close games, you search for things. And so, because you want to fix it. And sometimes it's a penalty here, sometimes it's a turnover here. So, you have a variety of things. I mean, there's always one little thing that determines close games, normally 1 or 2 things. And we've had our share of those, and you can't have those. I mean, it's, it could be the wrong play, called the wrong play at the wrong time. So we've all got a piece of this thing. And you got to keep striving to fix it, and then do what you have to do in the off season, but you finish these games here striving to do better and cleaning up some things. And I mentioned one of the positive things is you get to see a lot of young guys play out of it and see what they're all about.
It's what people will be watching for the next 3 weeks. See young guys play, see them play well, see Gardner Minshew play well, lose the games.
I will say it was fairly funny. He goes, well, Seren, most of the young guys are playing. And I guess it is true outside of really Jalen Royals, right? I mean, Ashton Gelati started to play a lot more. Josh Simmons injured. Omar Norman-Lott injured. Jeffrey Bossa, I guess, Royals are the 2 guys who really aren't. Maybe you want to say Brashard Smith, more of him.
I mean, Jalen Royals was active and was the only active player that didn't play in the game yesterday.
I guess he's talking maybe a little bit on the offensive line with the tackles. And Noah Williams obviously played more with Trent McDuffie out.
But I mean, if Tyquan Thornton is out, I don't know what's going on with Hollywood, but I don't see why Jalen Royals couldn't play the spot of Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, I like Juju, but you're not gaining anything with Juju out there. You could be gaining something with a rookie 5th rounder or 4th rounder in Jalen Royals. The Zoom continued. Sam McDowell asked about the reasoning behind getting a second opinion for Patrick Mahomes.
No, but these guys normally do that. So on that, Sam, most guys get a second opinion. Probably put it up as much as probably over 90% of the guys do this, and that's just part of it. And that's what he's doing.
And then just throughout this last, decade plus, I mean, you guys have been so good at building as the season progresses and getting better. What's the difficulty in doing that mid-year, knowing that the rest of the league's trying to do the same thing?
Yeah, you've always got to continue to strive to build and add to the roster, and then you've got to stay ahead of the game as a coach, and so and that's every off season. That's the challenge. Sometimes when you're good for the period of time that we've been doing well, you're not picking very high in the draft, and that's you make things work. Nobody's done it better than Brett has, and being able to keep everything afloat and then still not spending a ton on working in the free agency market as much as a lot of people do. So we've done. He's done a great job of juggling all of that.
Yeah, I mean they'll be drafting higher, in the draft. We'll see. But thought it was interesting. Second opinion, it's normal. Just part of the deal. So what do you say? 90% of the players probably get a second opinion on it. And then he said you always have to strive and build the roster, and you have to stay ahead of the game as a coach. Okay. I liked hearing that. Do you think you're staying ahead of the game as a coach?
That's it.
So we'll see. I hope that he can, have that examination and see that it doesn't feel like that. Todd Lebo asked if there was any other damage in the initial examination other than the ACL.
Yeah, it's just what they put out there. We try not to hide too much from you, right? That's not our game. I try to keep it right up front with you. So that's the information that they had, and they put it out for you.
And secondly, you haven't been through being out of the playoffs in December in a long, long time. What's this been like for you this past 24 hours with that realization, and where do you kind of go back to figure out how to go about this next few games?
Yeah, Todd, obviously I'm not happy about it. Neither is anybody here. That's we strive for excellence. We try to do that every year. Things happen though in this league. It's there's a ton of parity, and sometimes you end up on the short end of it, and you've got to go back and look at things, and that can be healthy. And we've got good people to do that with, and we've got a good nucleus of players. So we've got to go back and look at all of that.
It gives them time,
Yeah.
Everybody gets a fresh start to a degree. We talked about if this was a tired organization. Well, there's a lot of resting that can be done. Honestly, how much do you have to play Chris Jones the next 3 weeks? I know we were joking about, when Andy Reid said, you want to go out there and win. This is America. I get it. But also, Andy, you can win by losing.
I know, but teams don't have that mindset, and players don't have that mindset.
I'm not saying that they do. But Andy Reid isn't retiring this year, and you want to go out and win the game, which is great. But then on the flip side, he's saying, well, we're not drafting very high in all these times. Well, you're out of the playoffs. Would you like to draft 18th or 11th? So, yeah, but we went and won the games. Awesome. So that guy that you could have got at 11th is gone, but you're trading up to 15 to get somebody, so now you're getting up extra picks because you won a couple games along the way. But America winning, right? I just think, they're not going to go out and purposely lose the game. I get that. I totally understand that. But you can maybe serve a couple purposes, as many young guys as possible playing out there. And if you win, you win. If you don't, you don't. But playing some veterans and doing everything you can to make sure you get that 1-point win over the Titans or a 3-point win or whatever, beating the Raiders at the end of the season.
They'll probably go 2-1. Let's be real. They'll probably be the Raiders and Titans and lose to the Broncos.
They'll be 8-9.
Yeah,
and picking 15th or 16th.
More than likely, that's going to be the case.
Instead of 10th.
Losing the Titans, you really have to try.
Well, they've got a couple wins this year.
Rate
2-12.
Raiders,
they got a couple wins this year.
Especially if it's Kenny Pickett, you're going to have to try.
What better way than to help yourself and hurt the Raiders? You lose to the Raiders, it hurts their draft position and helps yours. That's a win, folks.
I think against the Raiders, you could kneel down to start the game and somehow you'll still win. I don't know how,
probably. Andy continued, and he was asked if the next 3 weeks is an audition for Gardner Minshew to be re-signed for next season.
Yeah, sure. I've got a ton of confidence in Gardner. So it's I've watched him play with these other teams. He started in the league. Our guys have confidence in him, and then Chris Oladukin behind him will work up there. And Chris has been with us for a while too. So I think there are two guys that our guys trust in there, and we'll play hard for him.
We'll close it out with Todd Palmer. Go ahead, Todd.
Given the typical recovery timeline for something like this, I know you're still in the season, but how does that maybe alter the way you guys have to approach the off season, knowing that Pat's not going to be available to do the stuff he's normally done, may not even be available to start training camp, things like that?
Yeah, we'll cross that as we go. Brett thinks of everything. I mean, he jumps in on it, and he's well ahead of all of it. So I'm not worried about it, that part of it. And then Pat, you never know on these rehabs how they go. Um, I just know he's got good people that he'll be working with, and I know how aggressive he is on things. And as long as the surgery goes well and as expected, then um, you know, I would expect a fairly quick recovery for him, just because of those factors.
All right, there we go. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
I don't just care what Casey tells us they're going to do in the offseason. I want them to show me, because it's the Show Me State in Missouri. FanDuel Sportsbook is live in the Show Me State. They are kicking things off with an offer that is tough to beat. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose. So whether it's football, basketball, hockey, or more, you can bet it all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. As a guy that's not technologically advanced, even I can figure out how to use FanDuel. I'm telling you, FanDuel is the best sportsbook app out there. I'm done with the Sterling stamps for a while because I was 0 for 7. Who am I kidding? Let's get back on the train. I'm probably going to go 0 for 8, so fade me if you want. I'm going under tonight's at Miami Dolphins and Steelers game for Monday Night Football. I'm going under. It's 20 degrees, it looks like, in Pittsburgh. It's going to be cold. What Miami can't play in the cold. We know this about them. They crumble. They falter. So give me the under in tonight's game. So what you need to do, download FanDuel today or head to FanDuel.com/Missouri to join all the excitement. Because Missouri, it's time to play your game with FanDuel.
21 plus and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com.
Wrapping up this hour, we'll talk with Mick Schaefer coming up, top of the 1 o'clock hour. Hang out with him, presented by Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk. Coming up 5 days from now, you can have breakfast with Sandy. You can do some ice skating with the Grinch on the 20th. Fun times. We'll try to have some fun with Mick Schaefer, too. It's tough to do. It's like pulling teeth. We will make the attempt. We'll give it the old college try.
I believe in him.
It's about time somebody did.
I believe in him. I believe in you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I don't believe the Chiefs will make the playoffs, though.
I'm just going to ask Mick Schaefer every question he asked us on Sunday Sound Off.
That'd
He's
be
gonna
good.
Get the exact
We
same
should do
questions
that.
back to him.
We saw him last night at like 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that's when Sound Off happened, right? Not at 7:30. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes. Deebs hanging out with us for Michael Darcy. And now Mick Schaefer, presented by Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk, December 20th. You can have breakfast with Santa. You can ice skate with the Grinch. You can do that, which is a perfect time now. Just, considering everything that's happened, I feel like the ice skating with the Grinch would be the way to go.
Santa's not ice skating?
I don't know if he is. There you go. You're good now. There we go. Gotcha.
Santa's not ice skating?
I think he's just eating. I think that's sort of what he does.
Grinch isn't eating.
I know where I know you from. Last night on Sunday Sound Off. Yeah, you're the guy
that wore that ridiculous outfit.
You're the guy that interviewed us.
That's right.
Yeah, that's where I know you from.
That's got to be. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
We saw you not that long ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brunch and bowling with Santa, December 20th at 10 a.m. And then at 2 o'clock, you can go ice skating with the Grinch. That is at Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk coming up December 20th.
He'll probably push you down on the ice. Watch out.
I know, right?
Watch out, he's a Grinch.
Yeah, he's a Grinch. He's a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
That's what I've heard. The Grinch visited yesterday in Kansas City.
Yeah, he did.
Was that the worst day? That was the worst day in modern Chiefs history, right?
Yeah, it was a bad one.
What constitutes modern? The last 7 years?
I would say the last.
I mean,
Andy Reid era, definitely.
I'd probably say Javon Belcher was a pretty bad day.
That was a bad day.
That was a
that
bad
was
day?
real world day.
Yeah, real world bad
yesterday.
day. Yeah, real world
yesterday
bad
was
day. As far as sports
you
goes,
you lost a game and an injury-prone sport.
Yeah,
a very good player got an injury, but yeah, it was nothing like Javon Belcher.
It was rough. There's no doubt about it. And this team is now officially eliminated from the playoffs. We had Field Yates on earlier today, and he said at least this can force their hand in how to approach the offseason. That it's not a sneaking into the playoffs and going, well, we were just a play here, a play there away from winning some of these games. And, had we done that, then we would have been hosting some playoff games and we would have been in the Super Bowl yet again. It would have been all good, but that is not what happened. Mick, the game was bad as it is and being eliminated from the playoffs, but it went from bad to nightmare when Patrick Mahomes gets tackled. Last drive of the game, mere minutes before the season was over. His season officially over as well, and questions about next year. Do you think, there's a lot to be decided here, but do you think he's going to be close to Patrick Mahomes next year, early in the season, late in the season, or is this one to where the Chiefs maybe approach this offseason and say, let's see if we can get some things going for 2027 and Mahomes gets back into the groove, and then 2027 is how we go. I've seen that sort of commentary out there.
I don't think they're that far away to where they feel like they have to take a year off or feel like we got to draft at the top of the draft for a few years. I don't think they're that far away. I think they're a good draft and a couple maybe really big free agent pieces away from getting right back on the horse. So, no, I hope they don't approach it that way. Yeah. And I would say for Patrick, even if he is back by opening day, I did the days to date thing last night of like, okay, how many days is it? And so yesterday, 9 months to the day, it would be away from week 1 Monday Night Football of the 2026 season. So if 9 months is the target date, maybe he's back by week 1. If so, that would be great. But I feel like the injury would still be something that maybe limits him a little bit going into next season.
And also, they play a third-place schedule next year.
Yeah, but they don't.
That be like?
Yeah, but that's not even really a third-place schedule because that third-place schedule, they're going to go to the third-place team in the AFC North, which is Cincinnati. Then they're going to play host to the third-place team in the South, which is the Colts. And then they get the Falcons out of the NFC third-place schedule. So they're third-place schedule because Cincinnati has sucked.
Dang it! They can't even do that right.
I mean, still, but it's going to be better than first place.
It's better than first place.
Yeah, and it's funny.
Although, you said, there's only 3 games. What if the Steelers win the North this year, and you're like, would have been nice to have that first-place schedule against the North rather than the Bengals next year.
The difference between a first-place schedule and a fourth-place schedule is only 3 games. Used to be only 2 games.
Yeah,
it's 3 games now, and with the turnaround in the NFL, a lot of times that fourth-place team ends up being a first-place team, and the schedule you really never know how hard it is until you play. But I will take a third-place schedule for once.
And they already play the AFC East next year, so they're already going to Buffalo. So they're going to go to Buffalo and go to
Sorry
Cincinnati.
for trying to have a
we got the Dolphins and the Jets in
outlook.
the AFC.
Yay,
There we go.
That's exactly
Who's
right.
their NFC division?
NFC division is the West. It's the West. Yep. And they go to LA because that's why one of those things. The Rams' home games are the ones that are up for going to Australia. They're home opponents. And I said that as the small silver lining is that if we don't know if Mahomes is going to play Week 1, zero chance the NFL puts the Chiefs in Australia. Dodge that bullet. There you go.
I
Mahomes
feel
is
like
playing the long
Gardner
game.
Minshew looks and feels Australian to me,
Yeah.
so I could see them being like,
Mahomes
very similar.
Gardner's just give
Mahomes
it
is
give
like,
an
you know
Australian
what?
accent. And
Brazil was so bad. I'm going to guarantee we don't play in Australia in
Well,
Week
and
1
they're
next
not going to
year.
know May 9th, right? Or whatever.
Exactly. You have
Whenever
no
the
clue.
schedule comes out.
No clue if he's going to be available to
yeah,
play
so they won't
September.
roll those
What would that be, 9th
So
or
the
10th?
Australian game is Week 1?
It's Week 1 or 2. They haven't decided. It's probably going to be on Wednesday if it's Week 1. So that would be September 9th is that Wednesday. Or Week 2. And then they got to figure out if that team plays Week 2 in Australia.
Plays Thursday on Week 1?
Yeah,
Or?
do you then play Thursday Week 1? Do you give them a bye week 3 because you've got 24 hours?
something.
Yeah, and I was going to be disaster. Like I don't need them to go to Brazil and then go to Australia. But if the Chiefs were to be making another run, it'd be Rams and Chiefs. Here we go. Especially if it had been like, if Rams and Chiefs were in the Super Bowl, then they would not have gone to Australia, because then you would not have because either the Rams won and they'd be playing on Week 1 on Thursday night and then Australia Week 2. But if the Chiefs won, they'd be playing Thursday night. Either way, does not matter because that's not going to happen. There's the small silver lining that I was worried about in that this is going to suck. But the third place schedule typically is good. They get the Falcons out of the AFC or NFC South in the third place schedule. But NFC South, does it really matter which place schedule you're playing? Outside of the Bucks,
Tampa.
it'd be like Saints, Carolina, or Atlanta is your choice in the South. So out of all the years to have the third place schedule, it isn't necessarily the best one. But it's not as you said, a first place schedule. We'll see. To me, it's the draft pick. It's how high you draft in the first round, and obviously then in the second round and third round and things like that. Like they could have 11 and 43. Like right now, they would be picking 11th and 43rd in the draft. I mean, that's essentially 2 players for what you're kind of getting when you're drafting at 32 anyway. So you can get a blue chip guy early on, and then you can get another really good player there in the second round, and it can change some things for you in this offseason. But they have a lot of other things that they have to change and look in the mirror and figure out as well with the coaching staff, with the philosophy, with the scheme, with a lot of different things. And then salary cap, restructuring Patrick Mahomes' contract this offseason. What are you going to do with Chris Jones, restructure his deal? Trent McDuffie, do you trade him? Do you sign him? Jawan Taylor you're releasing, who's
I think there's
going to
be roster overhaul like there is a lot of years, but I need to see it before I'll be convinced that there's going to be massive overhaul with the coaching staff.
Yeah, I'm with
well,
you.
they just need to clean a few things up.
That's right. Just clean a few. He had
They're a
gone,
coach-
I think
it's
he
just
had
a
heard
coach
it.
here and a
I think
coach
he had
there.
heard it. He had gone away the last couple of weeks of saying
Yeah.
clean a few things up, and then he's back onto it.
Look,
today.
it's a coach here, a coach there. It's a little thing here, a little thing there. It's a scheme here, it's a system there. Things like that.
What coaches do you think are safe, and which ones do you think are drastically on the
Andy
hot seat?
Reid, they're all safe.
Yeah, they're all safe. Man.
No, but okay, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, which ones do you think would be safe, and which ones do you think that should be at least
like in a regular situation,
a
like
large
Matt
question
Nagy,
mark?
Right. I think Dave Tobe.
Andy Heck, Dave Tobe.
Special teams has been a disaster the last couple of years. I think Dave and Sky Moore goes to San Francisco and becomes a good returner, and he couldn't catch it here. Like, you think maybe a great special teams coach would teach him how to do some things that could help him out, but that special teams coach has figured that out. I would say Dave Tobe would be a guy in a regular place. Connor Embry, Todd Pinkston, Matt Nagy, Andy Heck. A lot of people that you would be talking about as to making some changes.
I think what's hard with some of these is, for example, let's bring up Andy Heck. I think Andy Heck has had a lot of struggles in previous seasons when you have to keep going back to Wiley and Allegretti as guys who have developed. But then you look at this year and you see someone like Kingsley Suamataia develop and blossom into a really, really good left guard.
Has he, though?
He has.
He's developed and blossomed into a really good left guard. I have no idea.
He has.
Okay.
I would argue that Esapole, again, they made the same decision to let him go, but was that his decision, or was that Andy Reid's or Brett Veach's? They bring him back, and in 2 games, Esapole looks at least serviceable as a UDFA guy. I mean, there has to be some sort of nuance here. I just find it interesting that a lot of these, even Connor Embry, right? Connor Embry, we've seen regression from Rice and from Worthy. But also we saw progression from Tyquan Thornton that we never saw anything from in New England. Like I think, and even Dave Tobe, we saw Matt Ariza. I think Ariza's had a really good year for the most part this year. I think Ariza went from a punter who had no touch to now Ariza's actually become a top 10-ish punter. But Harrison Butker's taken a massive step back, and penalties abound on special teams.
Right, but I would also say, like, and I understand the nuance there, but if you were looking at and saying, well, okay, are you examining Dave Tobe? Are you examining Andy Heck? Are you examining Connor Embry? And yeah, there are some positives that go along with that. I would also say, like, if you're examining Andy Reid's scheme, you can be like, yeah, but they scored 31 in that one game, so maybe the scheme isn't the problem.
Sure.
Well, the overarching issue of special teams has been a problem for a couple of years. Ariza has much better touch, but while he's gotten better, Harrison Butker has severely regressed.
Yes.
And you are contractually connected to Harrison Butker for at least one more year. So there are 3 players in the NFL, 3 kickers in the NFL that have missed at least 8 kicks, extra points and field goals.
2 are gone.
2 of them have been cut. Now, one of them was Groupie, and he hit that 60-yarder yesterday, but he's on his second team because the first team said, we're releasing you because you're missing all these kicks. There are 3 of them. 2 have been cut. They're on other teams, and then Harrison Butker. And he's getting paid a lot of money, and he'll get paid a lot of money next year as well. So that has to be better. The overall pieces have to be better. You can't continue to get penalty after penalty after penalty. Yeah. It was the most important drive of the season because it had culminated in that, because the drive before that resulted in an interception down at the 1-yard line. But the most important drive of the season, when you got to stop, started with a holding penalty during the kick. In which they had to start up against their end zone yet again at the end of the game, and they end up throwing another interception on that particular drive. That's too much of a constant. And I mean, honestly, I don't know, like, how much does the wide receiver coach, how much does the running back coach, how much do they actually impact and affect and things like that? But are guys worried that if they are not paying attention to the specific parts and details of that particular play, are there consequences? Is there lack of playing time? Is it, well, who are you going to play besides me? Like, I'm your starter. Like, I'm the guy that's in there. I don't know what that dynamic is in that locker room. But I know this. I never used to have to question it. Like, that didn't ever seem to be a question if somebody around there was like, oh, are they dogging it? Are they cutting the corners? Because it always felt like the leaders by example, and everybody had to follow suit. You got in line or you got out. They would move on from me if you weren't that. This whole thing has slipped so far backwards that they're out of the playoffs. Even when Mahomes was healthy, they were still needed to drive and kick a field goal to tie it and win in overtime to even give yourself still a chance to make the playoffs. It just feels like it has eroded this year to the point of whether they're exhausted, tired, or undisciplined.
Yeah, there's a lot of different departments in coaching, right? There's guys getting developed. How are they getting better? There's the discipline. There's the scheme. How's it executed on the field? And I think even if, like, Sterling brought up a couple good examples of guys that have gotten better, but what's the product on the field? And especially with special teams, the biggest deal is like just the on-field discipline, and the results just aren't there as far as the penalties go, how bad it's been, and as far as just a return game, and a team that used to have a dynamic return game, and it's just non-existent now.
I did the math too, and so the question now of, like, what do we do the last 3 weeks? What do we see? What do we talk about? What do we see on the field with the coaches? What do they do? Joe Burrow tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL on November 22nd, but he had surgery 10 days later. And so
November 32nd.
November 32nd is
Good
when
math.
he had his
That guy knows
surgery.
dates.
That is exactly right. Yes. And so I looked at that and said, okay, let me figure out what the timeline would be for that. So that was 262 days from Joe Burrow having surgery to appearing in the last preseason game, August 29th, for that Bengals team. He played in the preseason game, took the first drive through a pass, but he was fully cleared to play, and if that was week 1, he would play. So that was August 29th. That was 262 days from surgery. Sunday.
Just shy of 9 months.
Yep. Sunday of week 1, which would be the 13th of September, If Mahomes has surgery 10 days after the injury, which is what Burrow did, that would be 263 days.
Yeah.
So it'd be one extra day. So the timeline would be right around the same. I know people are like, well, yeah, but Burrow was like almost a month earlier, and he played in the preseason.
Yeah.
He was fully cleared in the preseason. He didn't play, whatever that next year's first game was, September 12th. Was the first game of that next year.
Whatever. I mean, 262 days. 262 days, wherever you
Yeah,
start
right,
and end
right.
it. And it's a later start, I think, right? Because it'd be the September 13th is the first Sunday of next year,
Yep,
right?
September 13th is the first
football.
game. So there. But again, from Joe Burrow's surgery to appearing in the preseason game when he was fully cleared to play was 262 days. If Mahomes has surgery 10 days from yesterday, so 9 days from now, and that first Sunday of the season would be 263. And that was Burrow with an ACL, MCL, and PCL, all ruptured.
I'm almost team cautious, and then if you get, then if you get, if that happens, great.
Yeah.
But like I'm right now, I'm like, okay, maybe week 5, week 6, like that's kind of where my mindset is. And if it's best case scenario, then I'm thrilled. But I don't think the Chiefs would do this. But you don't want to count on that because everybody's body reacts differently. Tyreek Hill was known for almost always coming back earlier and doing things, and even Patrick is too. Patrick's almost a guy, those high ankle sprains, you're sitting here going, no one plays through it, let alone not missing any weeks, and he would just be, no, I'm good.
Or missing a play.
And you're like, that's 4 weeks minimum, and you were playing through it. So you never know how bodies are going to respond. You don't know until they get in there. He's getting a second opinion in Dallas, which a good follow-up. I think Lebo had that of, why is he getting apparently 90+% get second opinions, according to Andy. So
it's probably not a second opinion on what happened, more of like what's the plan going forward. I didn't hear what Andy answered there, but that was my first question. Okay. Hopefully it's just, okay, what's
you
the plan
must
about
always
it?
hear second opinions.
Sam had the why the second opinion, and Todd had the question of, is there any other damage than the ACL that you found? And the way that Andy answered it sounded like, no, it was just the ACL, because he said, no, the information that we saw is the information we released.
We don't hide anything, is what he said.
Yeah, he said he's very, very forthright, very upfront. They don't hide anything.
The road. I hit a
They don't hide anything. They tell
telephone
you right
pole,
there.
knocked down an entire electricity for an entire neighborhood. It was amazing when I heard that.
Rick's gonna.
That's how we do it. That's up front. That's
We're
us.
upfront about everything. But it did sound like we released and told you that he tore his ACL because that's what we saw. And maybe there's a second opinion of like, I just want to make sure we're getting a second opinion, make sure that's all there is. So that when we have this plan of this is going to be the surgery, this is what we're going to go in, you guys don't open up the knee and then are surprised by something when you get there.
And I'm curious too, was this part of the injury building up to it? Or had that knee been completely healthy, would he still have popped that ACL?
That was my question, and I joke. I mean, you're going to play him in this game because there was still a chance to make the playoffs. I don't have any qualms with that. That is, you think you're going to tell Patrick you still have a chance to play to make the playoffs?
I know you guys want all the good players
you're
to
going to
sit every week. Yeah,
not me, but but yes.
Yeah, but
he was
imagine
going to play.
Imagine the draft pick you would get if you didn't go to the Super Bowl those 3 years in a row.
Okay, so
imagine the players.
Right.
If you didn't even have FAU.
Yes.
Imagine if you weren't picking 32nd every year.
Even though all the same teams draft at the top of the draft pretty much every year. So.
Yeah, but imagine if you didn't have to pick that late. I mean, if you take one of those Lombardi trophies away and you put a really good player in that place,
it'd be
isn't that
amazing.
sort of the same?
And those always hit too.
But the point I was making was along the lines of, you knew he was going to play, but if you knew there was a chance of a major injury, so why would you make sure the game plan, for example, was, hey, Patrick, I know you want to do this, but we're going to acquiesce. You're playing, but you're going to be more of a pocket guy this game. We're going to get a lot of screen passes, get the ball out quick.
Good luck telling that to Patrick as well.
I know.
I know we're down 7 offenve linemen, but please stay in the
Patrick,
pocket.
we're going to have actually an invisible fence with that choker that you have around your neck. If you get outside the pocket, we will buzz that thing.
And then the other thought I had was, slight joke, but I don't know if it would actually have helped at all. You know how the offensive linemen sometimes wear those big-ass knee braces on their knees? Yeah. Just give Patrick one of those knee braces and say, hey, dude, I know this is going to suck. You're rocking this thing. We're making sure that your knee, if it was as bad as we thought it was going into the game.
I say bring him out like the little brother in A Christmas Story when they went out in the snow.
Just a full-on.
I say just walking around like that. We'll take a time out, come back, learn funniest best next. crazy at him. Like, why are you? What are you? Then they saw the flag and knew that it was going to stop the clock. They had to punt, but also don't shank it or get it blocked, whatever it might have been. So I learned that.
So that stopped the clock, and it's a loss of down then, huh?
Because it was third down taking a knee. They took a knee on third down,
after
so
the play,
brought fourth down, so they had to punt. But what I learned is that even as the clock is ticking, when other teams are getting ready to just shake hands as the clock is ticking down, if you take your helmet off and throw it in the air, had he just took his helmet off and started shaking hands,
it might have been better.
I don't think they would have thrown a flag. I learned that taking your helmet off is not the penalty. Throwing it in the air in celebration is
High school
actually a
refs
penalty.
like to be heroes, though. They like hero calls.
Also, kind of cool for the kicker. Found out that we learned it's the kicker's dad was the ref that threw the flag.
Did we learn that?
Is that right?
No, I'm being.
You serious, Clark? You serious, Clark?
I figured someone would pick up on that sarcasm.
What? You
And I
serious,
hope
Clark?
someone picks up on my learned sarcasm
What you
as
learned?
well. I saw this sign in a restaurant. Thought it was very funny. Buy one sandwich for the price of two. Get the second sandwich free.
It should be funniest then.
That should be your
I don't think it's that funny, but I think it's
you
that's pretty
learned.
clever. I think it's pretty clever. So buy one sandwich for the price of two.
Right, yep.
Get a second sandwich free. We all get
Yeah.
this, right?
Yep, we do.
They now have a sign underneath that says the above is a joke. If you don't get it, just act like you don't see it, like the lady on Google should have done. So someone wrote a
Karen got on.
She
got
thought
on
she
there
was
and-
going to get a buy one, get one?
Correct.
Oh, my God.
And like clearly it's a joke, and so yeah, I thought it's pretty obvious it's a joke.
That
So-
lady shows up to a bar and says, no. You said free beer tomorrow. Yep. The sign is still there. Well, no. I read it yesterday. What you learned there, Mick?
It's Mick, and I learned about Kyle McDonald.
Okay.
He is Canadian.
Okay.
Learned more than that.
Good for him.
He is known as the bigger, better guy.
Okay.
The bigger, better guy.
Bigger, better.
Okay, so
Bigger, better, best.
this
That's
is
yeah.
started in 2005. He wanted to test the trade-up theory. He started with a red paperclip.
Yeah.
And kept
Oh,
figuring
yeah,
out
yeah,
this guy
yeah.
traded up and how long he could keep it going and how big of an item he got. It took him 14 trades to get a house. That's it.
Amazing.
So paperclip turned into a pin, turned into a doorknob, turned into a camp stove, traded that for a generator, traded
Wow,
that.
that's a big jump up.
Well, here's the next one. Traded a generator for a trip to the Rockies.
What?
Wow.
Traded the trip to the Rockies for a van. Traded the van for a recording contract.
What?
Traded the recording contract for a movie role.
What?
Traded the movie role for the house. It's a small house, but it's a freaking house from a paperclip. Over 14 trades over a year.
Would you? That's what I think the
Sports
Rose
Radio
are
810
trying to
here
do.
over one summer traded. They started with Todd's kidney stone, and they got a car.
Seriously?
True story.
They've
on the
done
air.
this?
They did it on the air. Yep. Started with Todd's kidney stone and got a car.
Oh, that's a great idea. I
Yeah,
hadn't
I know.
heard
We
about
should start
this.
doing that. I have this pen. I have a pen right here, and I'll trade it for somebody. Or for somebody too.
That would be a big trade.
Imagine
You get a person.
Wow,
for
you got a
pen?
person for that? Yeah, and then I traded it for 2 pens. It was an upgrade. I got double
Not
the
much of a
price.
person.
Yeah, I got 2 pens for the price of 2. It
The
was awesome.
generator was a big upgrade. That guy, but then the
Yeah.
recording contract for a
Yeah.
car, I don't know how. Who's doing that?
Somebody really wanted a generator.
Yeah.
I don't know. The doorknob for a generator, whatever, or the camp stove.
Yeah,
That
doorknob
was-
for camp stove.
That's a pretty.
Like generator.
pretty
I mean, it
big
depends on the generator. Those things are expensive.
deal. Yeah. Funniest for you, Sterling?
Normally, this guy is fairly insufferable on Twitter, but this is a very
right
funny.
here.
Sorry, yeah, I mean right here.
Mick Schaefer. No, that guy Ben Kurt, the guy that like hates on the Chiefs all the time.
He does not like Mahomes.
Yeah,
yes.
does not like him. Finally had a good tweet because I think the funniest is why we think now Phillip Rivers came back. Phillip Rivers goes to the NFL right before his health insurance clock runs out.
I knew it.
When you have a 20-person deep roster at home, you got to do what you got to do before that 5-year clock is up. So now the clock resets and he gets 5 more years of health care for all of his kids and family.
You know, that's just smart.
And when you have, 12 of them, 10 kids, and
Yeah,
plus
10
him and his
kids.
wife,
10
for
kids,
12,
yeah.
someone was like, that's like $4,400 a month, like at least. So
It's just smart. He hasn't made
he
enough
now
money in
has
his career
5
anyway.
more years of health
Are we
insurance.
sure he didn't have health? He wasn't going to have health insurance.
Well, your NFL one goes out, so you have like
Does
the
it?
free.
Even if you have a pension, you don't get.
I don't know how it works, but that's
Okay,
what I
yeah.
was found out by this.
Could he afford it with all the money he made in his career, though?
Well, now he can by playing
Yeah,
that
I
one
get
more
it.
game,
That
that
makes
one more
sense.
game check.
Makes sense.
You know how expensive 10 kids are?
I don't actually.
I don't
got
either.
two.
I have no idea.
I can't tell you this. He's a school employee, right?
Yeah, he's
So-
a coach.
There's great insurance. In
Really good.
schools. Really good.
Really good
with
insurance.
schools.
That's
So,
true.
Okay, sorry, I'll
might,
go.
might be better than the NFL. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Mick, what was your funniest?
Funniest
laughed.
was the not just the Quentin Jammer tweet of True Story in 2011. I played completely blank-faced drunk in at least 8 games, but the responses were so good. One guy said, "Keep your head up." Q, I was drunk on the clock at work 173 times that year. Another, yeah, but how'd you play? This guy goes, I took 2 hits of LSD for our high school regionals my senior year and had a career high scoring game and a triple-double. The hoop looked like it was as big as a garbage can. Could not miss. Quinn Jerry said, played well in all but one game, and then they talk about the one game. He's like, bro, I was out there seeing things that weren't there. So it made me laugh.
Yeah, that's good. Deebs, your funniest?
Just watching Phillip Rivers play at arguably 280 pounds. I loved it.
He was thick.
He is.
It was the
thick.
He was big when he
bigger
played
than
the first time.
Culpepper or
Pillsbury Throwboy. That's what he was.
Jared Lorenzen, rest in peace. Was he bigger than him?
I mean, yeah, it was.
I think it was Randy Moss in the pregame show in the morning was talking about, well, you know he's going to be slow because this guy, even in his prime, never ran a 5-second 40. I lied. Not a 4-second or 4.5, a 5-second 40.
Yeah, not, yeah.
That was great.
My funniest from the weekend is following JMU Sports News. James Madison. They are going really out of the way to make me root for them. And you know I'm a Power 5 snob.
You probably know their play-by-play guy, right, Dave? He's a Northwest guy. Was up at St. Joe forever.
Wow, I don't. I need to check that out. Yeah. But JMU Sports News they've been tweeting about this the last week or so. It's been great. It says just came across a stunning stat in our JMU Oregon research. The Ducks are winless against Sunbelt teams this year. JMU's 9-0. Which really makes you think.
Wow.
Then this one says, JMU football is introducing Billy Napier as its new head coach. They poached the head coach at Florida. Oregon had to settle for Dan Lanning, an SEC coordinator with no prior head coaching experience. We are not the same. Passing yards against Georgia State this season, JMU 74, Oregon 0. No wonder Oregon is going to have a new offensive coordinator after they lose to JMU. Then they had a tweet of Oregon put out a tweet of their highlights this year, and it's all slow motion passes. And they retweeted and said, "Is this real? Oregon's the slowest team we've ever seen." It says,
you should be cheering for JMU.
Says, rare earnest tweet. Oregon's impressive. The Ducks have talent across the roster. The coaching staff is exceptional. We love them in the Sun Belt. At first, they'd struggle to adjust to the level of competition, but over time, they could develop into a contender in our conference. So yeah, and then they also put out national championships in college football since 2000. JMU 2, Oregon 0. Makes you think.
Makes you think. They won a couple FCS.
Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? I appreciate that level of sense of humor on the Twitterverse, but
that's awesome.
It's the slow motion. They're the slowest team we've ever seen. All right, best for you from the weekend.
Best for me is on Rich Eisen has the best guess. I should follow him or watch the show a lot more. He had Hank Azaria on. Hank Azaria is great. Hank Azaria did the Mike Gundy rant in the voice of Mo from The Simpsons. Oh my and God, I should have sent it back there, but it's.
Can you do it yourself? Can you try and give us a?
I'm horrible at impressions.
Yes, that's good enough.
Would you mind reading that as Mo? You kidding me? Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. Don't write about a kid that does everything right, that heart's broken, and then said that the coaches said he was scared. That ain't true. So get your facts straight. That's all I got to say. It makes me want to puke.
There you go.
It's pretty good.
That was
Brockmeyer. I like that.
He's
one.
the voice of JMU. It's Brockmeyer now.
I knew it. Okay, that makes sense. Now I'm aware. Do you have a best, Deebs, from the weekend?
I'm going to stick with Phillip Rivers. His press conference was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty good. My best from the weekend, you know, Steven talks about it all the time, but we had my wife's Christmas party at Barstow, but then everybody went to...
He talks about your wife's Christmas party?
We went to go see Dolowite after it was over.
He loves Dolowite.
I know, but to see Richie up there. It's the first time I've seen Dolowite with Richie in
Richie
the band.
Plays for him?
Yeah, he's a bassist and on the keys. And so walking in, my wife goes, "Which one's Richie?" I said, "The one that looks just like Steven." She goes, "Yep, that's it. That's the one. Yep, I could have picked him out. The one that looks just like Steven." So that was cool watching him up there play with Dolowite.
Also, the best was, it wasn't the weekend, but it was on a Wednesday.
Oh, a cheater again. Here we
The
go.
Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk.
That was fun.
Work party. That was a great time.
Yeah.
Thanks for
I
having me.
had a really good time. They had that 3D game that was electric.
Did you win in laser tag?
I did win in laser tag. Yeah,
Interesting,
I'm
okay.
glad someone remembered.
Well, you said
and
it on
Papa
Friday.
Shot too.
You said
well,
did you set a record in Papa Shot?
yeah, I did actually. Thanks for remembering.
Well,
The
you said
food
it on
was
Friday.
delicious. Those potatoes were electric too. Yeah, it was a great time. So
At your best from the weekend is Wednesday?
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, the Chiefs.
You don't want to go back to when you were off at Thanksgiving?
Fine. Okay, the best was Big Brothers Big Sisters auction.
Thank you.
We did an auction, my mom and myself. It was a great cause. A lot of money raised. Some phenomenal prizes that people won. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. Great cause.
It's an actual best.
Yeah, Big Brothers Big Sisters.
There you go. We will we'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling, and wrap up the show on the other side of the break. More on next.
remember a time, maybe it was during the Jacksonville game, I would have been mad at an 8-6 record for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Let alone a 6-8.
Yeah, no doubt.
I would have been mad at 8-6.
Yeah, because at that point, it's like they're 2-2.
Like
They're about to be 3-2.
They're better than last year.
Started 0-2. They've won 2 in a row. They just beat the Ravens, punked the Ravens, and now taking care of business with the Jags.
Well, once they get those few things cleaned up, they'll be right there.
Yeah, I mean they were sitting 5-3 at one point. The Super Bowl favorites, 5-3.
Mahomes was MVP favorite.
He was the MVP favorite. They were Super Bowl favorites, sitting at 5-3. So life comes at you fast.
Hello,
and
darkness, my old friend.
It did come at them fast this year.
Hear me out.
Did they beat the team with the best record they played? Maybe the Broncos had a better record at that point, but they beat the Colts.
Yeah,
who had 2 losses at that point.
Yep. But now the Broncos are the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah.
Okay, so Colts brought back Phillip Rivers. Chiefs should bring back Tyler Thigpen.
Tyler Palko's right around the
Why
corner.
would you bring back a good quarterback like Phillip Rivers?
Tyler Palko still lives here. Just give him a call.
So remember this: when Matt Castle filled in for Tom Brady, they got a 2nd-round draft pick for Matt Castle. What if the Chiefs just have Gardner Minshew ball out and they get a 2nd rounder for Gardner Minshew? Now we're thinking.
Okay. Yeah, but he's not under contract.
I don't believe that
so
at all.
You can't really trade him if he's not
it's not going to work. Yeah, shoot.
He's a free agent. So
they did
other
with Jimmy
than
Garoppolo
that,
too, didn't they do it something like that? Oh
yep,
man,
he was also under contract. So that's how you can trade people under contract. But
Yeah,
if
we
they're free
should
agents, you can't trade them anymore.
extend him.
Are you saying? You're saying tag and trade?
Tag and trade is what I'm saying.
Gardner Minshew?
It worked for the Patriots. Why not the Chiefs?
Yeah, tag. I say
for
bring,
a lot of reasons, obviously.
I say bring Tom Brady out of retirement. See what he can do these last 3 games.
That's something that ball to Gronk in a suit jacket and it looked impressive.
The Colts brought Phillip Rivers out. They're missing the playoffs. Chiefs are missing the playoffs. So what's the matter? Come on. By the way, the Bills lost yesterday to the Patriots. They were in danger of maybe being out as well. But I think with the Colts,
that's the craziest thing. It's hard to be eliminated this early.
Yeah.
7 of the 16 teams in your conference go.
Yeah, it is not easy to have 3 weeks left to go in the season and be mathematically eliminated.
Off of, Chiefs?
Oh man, they jumped. They found one.
It didn't help that every loss they had was to another contender.
Yes, I know.
If the Bengals would jump off a cliff, would you do it? And the Chiefs said, "Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess we would follow them."
Yeah.
Maybe it's fun. Maybe there's like something soft down there,
like pillows.
Yeah,
I feel like they could look at it and say, "We didn't have Joe Burrow for a while, so that's why we probably missed the playoffs."
But that's like every year.
Yeah, right. And the Chiefs are like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! We didn't have Mahomes for 3 games."
Right.
That's why we missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
We didn't have Mahomes for 3 games.
And 2 minutes.
What if they win the last 3 and the narrative like, you know what?
Mahomes is the issue.
It's three games.
See what Gardner Minshew does when he's sitting in the pocket and actually maybe Andy's scheme is actually amazing and Mahomes is the anchor.
Must be it.
It's got to be,
QB
right?
controversy.
Do you go with Minshew next year? Do you draft a quarterback with your number 10 pick in the draft?
It worked out last time, number 10.
Oh, do it again.
Do it again.
Yeah.
No.